my main screen's not working. Oh well. I'll put some music on.
It is probably the single most important mathematical idea of all. The notion of proof by circle and line or ruler and compass construction means that geometry can be known about in a way that is different from knowing about physical things, and so makes geometry epistemically differentiated. Furthermore, starting from circles and lines alone and constructing a relationship using circles and lines alone makes the conclusions certain in a way that nothing else was at the time. In geometric reasoning, the argument and the conclusions were made supremely clear and evident to the senses. Indeed, the concept of proof, a mechanism that gave a warrant for claiming geometry to be perfectly and absolutely true, made geometry the very paradigm of what we mean true and certain knowledge to be. In effect, in our understanding of nature, true means true like geometry is true.
Come go with me. Open your mind. Was all I ever knew.
Anyone?
Finding the knowledge of the real world starts with the point of which has no parts. These are the axioms of life.
True.
And I take my chances with the old ways, finding the proofs in geometry. And I don't care what all the sophists say. I find the proofs in reality. 'Cause they were right.
We call this
We
proof.
know that they were right.
True. We call this proof. Like geometry is true.
Starting with circles and lines alone, constructing the nature of what's known.
We call this proof.
Conclusions are clear and the evidence seen. This 3D space works perfectly. And I take my chances with the old ways, finding the proofs in geometry. And I don't care what all the sophists say. I find the proofs in reality.
Like geometry is true. Perfect. Absolutely.
And all around you is sinking sand. You have a place on which to stand. Foundations were already built for you.
Absolutely true.
Open your mind, and I'll take my chances with the older ways, hearing the words of what the ancients said. They say my words sound like sorcery, but there's wisdom in all honesty.
True.
Come go with me. Open your mind. Come go with me. We'll find the truth.
True.
Right, that was just did a music intro. I hope that was good. Tonight I'm gonna go over proof. So I just started. I don't know whether you heard that spot on then, but started off with the remember the proof one we did with SE, Buster Music. Wisdom in all honesty.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah. And I thought that was a fitting one because SE does the proof speech, and I think that's where I want to be going tonight. Is like, what is proof and how do we portray it to somebody else? because
Yeah,
just recently got a book.
because I mean, I think someone would have to be looking for it.
Yeah. I've got here,
Right.
like, in this book, right, it says, a proof is a communication between you and your reader. You are trying to convince another person that a certain mathematical statement is true, or perhaps that is false. Right?
Mm. Yeah,
But, like you say,
mathematical.
yeah, I guess so. It is based within the mathematics, right? So that's why when thinking about the logic, it's more important to keep it within the geometry as an argument to show the logic, especially with a proof.
Mm.
Because I think the proof is only found in mathematics, isn't it? Like that dude, what was he called? The fighter. The really aggressive one. He's always fighting everyone. Fighting flat earth. That dude. He said,
Yeah.
words of wisdom, there is no proof in science. Proof only exists in mathematics.
Mm. You did say that.
Yeah. I can get that up actually. I'll see if I can look and so
Everything else is subjective. Kind of. Not subjective. Because Bumpus was always saying about that you can't get 100%. Pretty sure I've heard him say that.
you can't have 100% proof.
Well, of like when he was talking about the scientific method, or I know that it is different, but with the mathematics or geometry, it is 100%.
Yeah. It's mathematical. I think the idea of mathematics is a true or false. It's a on or off. It's the binary code, or it's a definitive answer. And that's why the geometry it's either true or false. The way logic's formulated with a statement, you have to make that initial statement, and it can either only be true or false. You can't break the law of non-contradiction from the beginning.
I can prove to you that 1 + 1 is 2.
There you go. You can't prove to anybody that 1 + 1 is 2, but that's not the one I was looking for.
If they're pile with the sand, yeah.
Proof only exists in mathematics.
There you go. Proof only exists in mathematics. I mean, it's a bit of a really weird thing to say. But it supposedly he's right. I'd say it only exists really in geometry. The proofs within geometry are laid out in a logical format. But the idea is the proof is, like you said earlier, it's only there for somebody that's actually looking for it. You can't hand it to anyone. I think that's why that thing says, like proofs, it's a communication between you and the reader. There has to be a communication aspect to it.
Relationships, really. And a few things have to align my opinion.
Because I was thinking that now we've, don't know, see, let's say, been blackballed out of most of the community. That gives us chance to focus like it always does. And I think we've got plenty of an argument that just needs formulating into a way that we can hand it to people, but obviously only to the people that are looking for it, that want to find it. But
What sort of format are you thinking? In like a video format, or almost like a paper?
yeah, I'm thinking of it, laying it out in a not official, but you know what I mean, like in a way that to make it as simple as possible and to properly formulate the entire theorem.
Yeah.
Of what we're trying
I
to.
think it needs to be something physical.
Yeah. Right from the beginning of the concept, the logic, the geometric proof, and then the proof within reality, and link them all together. I mean, we could definitely do it.
I mean, sorry, by physical, I just meant, like a paper, a booklet or whatever, whatever it takes. However much information, isn't there?
I'm not much one for writing books or anything like that, but I
Not
think...
a book. No, I mean like I don't know. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like of laying it out as though it's a formal argument, like a proper theorem.
Mm.
If this, then this, and then and then, and all the way along, and to start out from the beginning and end up with a proof that proofs can't be proofs. How about that? in a stolen concept fallacy way.
Yeah.
Because you can prove a certain set of things. I mean, I know most people aren't going to be with us on what we're talking about, but there's a way for us to be able to prove what we can prove, which will prove that you can't have a model. It will be a model or proof type thing. It's a battle, isn't it? Which one do you want? Because you can't have both.
I agree.
Type thing, yeah. Coming at it from a slightly different angle.
Yeah.
So that's where my head's at the minute. But the proof aspect is the most important thing at the minute. To understand what is a proof and what do other people think of the concept of a proof.
Well, how about the the 3-4-5 that I used, not on a daily basis, but regularly, and that was my proof, right? I knew that every time I did that, 3-4-5, setting out a corner or for the building, and it worked. I didn't have the full understanding of it.
Yeah.
Then to get the understanding of it was like, I get it.
Yeah.
It's strange.
So you already had the proof, but that proof was built upon with a little bit of extra knowledge, right? But once you had the understanding that you had something to go to, that you already had a proof.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think in most of the conversations or arguments or whatever, the people seem to be after wanting something from somebody else, whether it within a conversation or whatever. But I don't think there's much actual understanding of proof, as to what that proof would be and what most people require as a proof. and how you would achieve that, with the understanding that, you know, there are people out there that think you can only derive proofs from mathematics. Because as far as I've seen, those people that require a proof won't accept a geometric proof. And we get there, yeah. I'll get the picture from here. The thing we're going to be seeing most of is I sent that to the wrong one. Sorry, Mike. There we go. There are no globe believers with any geometric. I've said evidence because I'd like people to try and present it. So, like, with the understanding that a certain group of people think there are only proofs within mathematics, then I would suggest that geometry is definitely mathematical rather than scientific. It's math. Therefore, you would expect them to have a proof. But I mean, this statement, there are no globe believers with any geometric evidence of the globe model, is a statement that I'm going to stand by. I'm looking for the Black Swan. I'm looking for someone to come with some geometric evidence of their model, and not just drawing a circle and saying, look, a circle.
Tangent.
Or the other one is, well, what's the surface area of a sphere? Pi r squared. So r squared. It's a square. It's definitely two-dimensional. You know, that's ridiculous. That's not an evidence. That's just some gibberish that people have come out with. They have no geometric evidence, whereas we do actually have a geometric proof that level is horizontal, at least, and then leading on to proof on proof on proof, which can end up with me being quite confident in the statement that there are no globe believers with any geometric evidence of the globe model.
Don't forget vertical and plumb. I mean, level is horizontal.
Yep. And
But
vertical is
equal
plumb. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're both perpendicular to each other. They've both got zero relation to each other, other than the fact that they're perpendicular, which means they have every relationship to each other at the same time. It's fantastic. It's the way it works. But I mean, there are proofs for those statements. That most people would be quite happily saying those statements, not realizing that there are proofs for them because they are so self-evident. But not if you've got a model. You become afflicted by a model. Yeah, proof is definitely provable. And that's why
these models can make people say, you know, quite ridiculous things.
Yeah.
Again, all logic and reason.
Yeah, the model leads people to say things that they imagine there's a proof lying in the background, that one of the giants will have sorted that for them, that they're standing on the shoulders of. But they're all way up there, right? They've got no idea of what the many shadow giants that they're standing on the shoulders of have done.
It's scary, aren't it? I mean, the giant might be just really small. But that's
Shadow. They're just shadow giants. They're, standing on the shoulders of shadows. Yeah, so the concept of the proof, I would like to hear other people's ideas of what a proof is, because this is one of the conversations that we get into that I think there's a group of people that can't talk about this sort of stuff.
Well, I think it's in some way proof is provable until it becomes faith, right? Until what you can't prove becomes faith. And then I think you delude yourself into thinking that it's a proof. Faith is faith. Proof is proof. Those are two different things. Mm-hmm. But I think there's a point at which, and I think we've seen that with the acceptance of Euclidean geometry, and then moving to something that is completely antithetical to it, and then saying that it's a proof because they're trying to prove a model, and it ends up becoming faith, not proof. But they would say it's proof, right? Well, am I making sense?
Yeah, I think we've had this discussion before. It sounds slightly familiar, though, where I think it came to the idea that faith is a belief without proof, right? It's correct. It is the actual absence of any proof of the thing that you have the belief in. You can have a really strong belief in it, and you would end up calling that faith. But in order for you to say that, right, and have the separation between faith and proof, you have to understand what a proof is. But if you have no concept of proof, then that line gets blurred very easily.
Which brings up something really interesting. Could you prove anything to yourself? Or does it have to be more than one person? In other words, do you need verification for your proof that you think is a proof?
That was the question that was set to me at the beginning of my journey around here. Was somebody called me a child abuser for saying something that I knew to be true, right? So therefore, rather than reacting in any sort of way, I questioned myself as to how can I prove that to myself? I mean, I know it to be true. I've been through it. And that very question was level being horizontal. They said it curves, and I said, no, it's horizontal. So how do you prove level being horizontal? I mean, that's the journey that I've been on that led me to geometry, to logic, to, the Logos path goes back, way back. But yeah, I mean, like, I would say answer to that question, yeah, of course you can. I mean, you are the only person that can prove anything to yourself. You have to actually do it. The proof's only ever going to be yours. So I could tell you my journey and explain it to me, but until you go through the entire process that I've gone through, or in order to prove it to yourself, then I don't know. I mean, that's why it's interesting to hear what other people would say.
Yeah, and I think that's right. I think the concept that proof is only proof if two or more people agree with it is faulty logic in itself.
Yeah, proof by consensus isn't a proof at all. Just
right,
because a lot of people say it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the world that we've been living in for quite a while now, though, isn't it?
That's why the logic, I think, takes a little bit to get around, because it is logical, right? Everything make sense. But rediscovering the logic and stepping out of that, I don't know, clouded fantasy world or whatever of, I don't know, pills and drink and TV and manipulation that you have going on constantly. It's hard to get out of it. But I think the logic eventually derives itself, and then proof comes from, like I say, you have to be looking for something, and again the question comes, what can you prove to yourself at a fundamental level?
Well, it gets even harder with what these guys are telling us today, that there is no such thing as proof. That it's, you can't prove anything for certainty. They're trying to give themselves wiggle room.
Well, that's because they're taking it out of the bounds of the, say mathematics, but proof is a way to derive, a statement. So it's not just an equation or, something like that. I mean, that isn't, to me, it's not what a proof is. The proof, you have to start off with a statement. You have to say what you're going to prove first. You have to make it clear. You then have to take people through the steps of, 1, 2, 3, 4, and take them through it in order to derive either a truthful statement or a false statement of the initial statement. That's what a proof is. It's a big package of stuff. Now, if it's personal or whatever, the best you are ever going to be able to do is try and explain that to other people. But it's a personal proof to you. And like I say, you've gone through a lot of steps to prove that to you yourself. It's not very easy to express that to somebody. It takes us back to the bit where Spot On was saying at the beginning, that if you relate it to the geometry, then at least with the geometry you have a definitive statement of the definitions that you're dealing with. You don't have to take people through that entire process of you explaining what it is you're talking about, if you can relate it to geometry in the proper sense of proof. Otherwise it gets really difficult once you take these concepts away from the geometry and into, I don't know, let's say optics, because then you're dealing with what you see, and what you see isn't as easy to portray unless you do projective geometry, and then you're still dealing with geometry, but slightly different concepts, and you've still got to understand the proofs of the original Euclidean geometry anyway. I don't know. So what I'm saying is, I think if you can relate to the Euclidean geometry conception of proof, and if you can put your arguments together using that sort of argument and within the framework of that, then it should be pretty possible for people to develop mathematical geometric proofs for something to deal with the shape of something, let's say, for instance. I would expect so. I'd like to think so. I'd like to think that I can anyway, or us as a team group develop a theorem to prove that proofs cannot be true with a model, something like that. sort of a different way round, a backwards way of looking. In fact, could you imagine being able to prove that Euclidean proofs aren't possible on a globe model? So you could debunk Euclidean proofs by proving that Euclidean proofs can't be true on a model. I think that's my challenge.
That'll mess up their heads a little bit.
Yeah, we use logic to prove that proofs aren't real. Because like you said, they're telling us that proofs aren't proofs. There's no such thing as proofs. So you could perhaps use Euclidean geometry to prove that proofs aren't possible. Or maybe.
I think that's what Karl Popper told them. Can't prove anything.
I've got a Popper.
Well, wouldn't that be kind of the definition of a model anyway? Proofs can't be proven on a model. That's why you have models. That's why you create them in the first place, don't you?
He's got weird ears. It's like it's melting off his face.
Look at that look, man. You can believe anything this guy tells you?
Looks like the big BFG, big friendly giant, doesn't he? No, I think Karl Popper was trying to save it in a way, but it may have been the first step of the way. I don't know. Taking logic and putting it. I mean, his science was always logic. Always has been. Look at Spot On's.
Well, that statement, makes sense. I'm not saying that everything he said doesn't make sense, but that you can't prove anything, that's rubbish.
In science? But yeah, you can, because you can prove it's not something. But I suppose that's the wizard game, isn't it? By proving something isn't something, then are you actually proving what it is?
It's just a bunch of word games. This always got me upset. Like, you can't prove anything? Okay. I can prove that if you don't drink water for 6 months, you'll die. Anybody want to take the challenge? That's it. One statement. Game over. Proof. No water, you die. End of story. I just proved something.
Yeah.
Any challengers on that?
Well, it is said that some Indian went for extremely long length of time without water.
Okay, make it a year then. He did it for 6 months. Make it a year.
Yeah. I think where you end up at SE with taking it to some of the debates that we've heard is that someone would argue that you can't prove that you exist in the first place, so therefore can you exist that you die? So then they'll take umbrage with the fact that in your statement, if you don't drink water for 6 months, you die. Well, if you can't prove you exist in the first place, you can't prove you're alive, you can't prove that you die. So there you go. I mean, it can get to that kind of silliness, right?
It does, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
and then everybody could laugh at that person saying that and say, did you hear what he just said?
That's the wizardry within the argument.
Right.
There is no argument. There is no argument against that. If you don't drink water, you will die. There's no human being on this planet that can challenge that statement. Period.
Well, there's no logical argument against it, But I think that goes back to the crux of, I think, what Bev is talking about. Is then what is a proof, and then how does that tie with logic? And then for that matter, what is logic? What's acceptable logic? Is it acceptable to say, well, Essie, your statement is wrong because you can't prove you're alive or exist in the first place, so therefore you can't prove the concept of death? Is that logical? Well, I think certainly us would say no, but there are people that would make that claim, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're probably right. And like I said, I'd laugh at them.
Yeah, the Sophists would find some sort of a way to get around any sort of an argument.
Right.
I think that's why the statement was made that there is only proof within mathematics, because mathematics is derived from, but I mean, it's a false statement, right? Because what they're assuming is that the numbers give you a definitive answer, but the numbers are just placeholders, right? 1 + 1 is 2, but that's not a proof that 1 + 1 is 2, right? It doesn't make sense to say that's a proof just because it comes from mathematics. The idea is that the mathematics is formulated from a logical statement, and it's derived logically. So it's the logical statement that's made at the beginning that can either be a yes or a no statement. And because of the law of non-contradiction, then you can either prove the yes or prove the no.
Exactly.
Right? And so when it comes from a derived logical statement, then you can derive a proof from that, and it's a proof to the negative or a proof to the positive of the statement. And it becomes a very it's a very precisely worded thing that you do when you do that. And that's where the wizardry, I think, is all along. It's within the spell casting, as in just the words that you use.
It's all wordsmithing, yeah. Instead of weight, let's use mass.
Agree. Yeah, agree completely. It is the wizardry of the words.
Yeah.
It's almost the turning upside down of logos, right?
Yeah. It's the manipulation of it that does it. But I mean, you have to have the concept of the logic there to find, right? But the strange thing about the logic is that it sort of finds you, or when you hear a statement that is so evidently true, you imagine it, you know it's true, because when you hear it, it's automatic that it's true, and you imagine that you knew it all along. So when somebody tells you something that's so logical, it's almost as if you already knew it. And the person that's telling you is just sort of telling you something you already knew. Whereas you may not have known it. You just rediscover it.
Like water is level? When you've looked at glasses of water on your table all your life? Like that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because, I mean, level is horizontal. Saying it was natural to me. But then the question was, how do you prove something that you intrinsically know to be true?
A glass of water.
Yeah.
End of story. Game over.
Yeah, that's not good enough for me, though, by just...
Yeah, I know. I'm joking around in a sense.
Yeah, it's something... like Kevin said, it's like, how do you prove something to yourself, and can you prove something to yourself? what is it that you can prove to yourself? I mean, a lot of people within this arena would say that you can't prove anything. But I think you can. I definitely, after going through the journey that I've been through, I'm pretty confident that level is horizontal. I've done enough tests and I've got an understanding of geometry that's good enough for me to say, yeah, I can prove it. There's a lot of people that don't even want to hear it.
Yeah, and I believe you can as well, Bev. I think, you know, I do think that it goes back to what you said, that it becomes your own personal journey. And I think not knowing for sure what was in your head when you went through that journey, but you're going through all the logical proofs in your own mind, right? During that journey. And that's the difficult thing. When you get into a discussion with other people and you're trying to portray that, or at least try to take someone through what your journey was, it's got to be damn near impossible to be able to do that, because the sheer number of logical processes that your mind had to go through, or that your mind goes through on anything. It doesn't even have to be level as horizontal. It's really anything that you entertain in your own mind has got to be stunning, right? How do you then portray that to someone else? It's difficult.
Yeah.
Right. Even if both parties are being honest with one another, and you don't have the trolls that are, that we deal with all the time, which makes it all the harder.
Yeah, it makes it near impossible when you consider what you're up against in most of the places that we've been blackballed from now. Whereas you're not allowed to even start to try and answer the question that is there a proof of. I mean, the first one is the tag flat Earth. Well, nobody's mentioned anything about that, right? So it's not a proof for that. And like you say, it's only a proof for level being horizontal. I mean, you can't prove something that's a misnomer, a complete and utter concept. That's ridiculous. You've got to start at the beginning somewhere. And I'm guessing, right, the question that you're trying to prove is, you're trying to prove that horizontal is a straight line in reality, as is perpendicular to plumb. So they're two reference frames that exist in reality. Everybody knows they actually exist, a vertical and a horizontal. But when you get down to it and the geometry of the model, horizontal doesn't exist. And that's quite a shocking thing to most people. So all you have to be able to do really is to prove that horizontal exists. Well, that's all I had to do, is prove to myself that horizontal exists, as in a straight line. Can you prove a straight line exists? It's another one, isn't it? There's tons of these little questions that come to mind when you start talking about proof. And I mean, what actually is there? It'd be interesting to know from most people what sort of proofs other people think that they could have and how they could express that. I bet most people haven't even thought about it as to what proof is.
No, because I think a lot of people would just say, well, proof and reality are the same thing. And so they just deal with their own reality. I woke up this morning, therefore I can prove two things. One, I was asleep. Two, I woke up. Well, maybe a third thing. And three, I exist. But you go back to the idea that, the wizards would take those words and turn them around. Right?
Yeah.
And then they'd say, what is reality? Then you get someone who says, well, didn't you see the movie The Matrix? You don't even know what reality is.
Yeah, that's another wizard trick. Those movies are a wizard trick, as are the giants that you're standing on the shoulders of. Because if proofs are only gained for yourself, then you can't be handed them by shadows of giants, can you?
Right.
You cannot be handed a proof. So you have to go and get it for yourself. And how do you gain proofs? That's the question of the day.
They want to be the proof providers. Only through them, the oracle, can you find the proofs, right? Only when they say it, it's a proof.
Yeah, but with an inability to actually say what a proof is, right? They are the proof givers. They hand them out as if they're playing cards, with no understanding what's actually wrote on the card. It's just like, this is a proof. Because I've heard it a lot recently with the Polaris, something to do with Polaris being a proof. I've never got anywhere else with it other than that.
Being a proof of what?
I don't know. Just a proof of a model, proof of it not being flat. And I don't know what the counter arguments are to this, because, like I say, there are no globe believers with any geometric proof, but they imagine lights in the sky to be a proof of something, but they're unable to articulate and tell us exactly what it means and structure it as a proof. That's why I sort of want for myself to be able to structure a proof. I mean, I've already done the level is horizontal groundwork of the proof. So I would like to structure an entire argument around it. About, how to express it. George is sending me messages. I'm using that. George, yeah. Do you want to see it?
Why not?
Like George, he's left us for a while and he's just DM'd me. So, George, here's your chance. You should come into the chat. There we go.
Did you move in yet, George? Are you at your new place?
Do you want to see that chat? Do you want me to read it?
We're vulgar and disgusting. Shame on you, George.
I mean, I don't know what.
What did we say that was vulgar?
Pretty vague, that, isn't it? We are some of the most. George, it's okay. You just don't bother sending me any more DMs like that.
Wow, that seemed a little out of the blue.
It is out of the blue. He's left. And I don't know why he's decided to do that. But it's because, it's only just come. Well, not just come. A bit ago. But while we were live, he's obviously heard us talking about something that obviously upsets him. Maybe logic or The fact that there's no globe model believers with any geometric evidence of the globe model.
Oh, maybe he got upset because he went out of his way and he did that test on the lake.
Well, yeah, he tried to come around and do the differential leveling thing as well. I mean, that was ridiculous, wasn't it? It was just not possible. He did the differential leveling for Mobius. Shout out Mobius. Doing some good work getting banned by people. Arguments too strong, so they ban us. It's because there are no globe believers with any geometric evidence of the globe model.
That's probably what triggered him.
Mm-hmm. I think so. He gets upset at things like that. Oh, it's my lad's birthday as well. Happy birthday, lad. I don't know if you're listening. I did say.
Oh, happy birthday.
He'd probably be asleep, waiting for his shift.
Congratulations, Bev. You did your part.
Mobius says, George, Dr. Bob, the not so sciencey guy, the liar guy, and Blue Balls. No, sorry, Blue Marble. Science again, science.
Our buddy Blue, who banned us.
They've banned, yeah, Mobius. They've gone away. They can only insult us from a distance, slander and all of that. They can't come and refute any of our arguments. So that's why we've.
Funny, an engineer. You'd think he'd be able to mop the floor with the argument, right?
Blackballed from the community because our argument is so strong. And I still challenge people to come with the geometric evidence of the globe model. I'm going to be, like I say, I'm going to be formulating a theorem over the next few days. We're going to be making some short videos to try and formulate this sort of stuff into a simpler package, because I think there's a lot of people hear geometry and all of that, geometry and logic, and imagine that it's complicated. It may seem like that, but it's not. It really isn't. And it's realizing you just have to free your mind of all of that old, the model and all of the old stuff, and start afresh from a straight line. Start from nothing and build it up from there. Yeah, that everybody else is moving into conspiracies and they're debunking other conspiracies now. They've obviously decided that the flat earth argument isn't worth dealing with. But when I say flat earth argument, I don't mean flat earth argument. I mean level being horizontal.
Come on in, George. We need some action.
George won't come in. Just
sure, he knows. He knows we're going to be friendly with him. We're going to go on George mode.
Quiet Riot tried to come in, but left.
Well, I was going to say, if they don't think the argument is worth having, why the vitriol towards us? Seems strange.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand it, never have. I don't hold any resentment for these guys. I mean, we've all been told things. I don't think many people actually have any proof of anything. That was one of the things that shocked me when Fight the Flat Earth called me a child abuser for saying level is horizontal. It shocked me that I didn't actually have a proof for it. I mean, how do you defend something like that if you personally don't have a proof for it? I mean, he had a globe. So, like, obviously, the giants that he was standing on had all of the proofs that somehow allowed him to say something like that. I mean, I still don't understand it to this day, and I've still never had a proof from any of the globers as to why level isn't horizontal. I've even had Jesse Kozlowski and the main surveyor, McToons. I've had most people saying that the water level drops from the horizontal, but then they've got a problem about a hump because it rises. Can't both drop from a horizontal and rise at the same time. That's why I'm in this position to say that level is horizontal. But so when you start looking into it, the proofs that are within reality are easy to find because the logical statements, there's nothing easier than forming a logical statement surrounding reality, because it's true, and in order to prove it false, you have to prove the statement false. So it just gets harder and harder. Oh dear, it looks like Mobius. George and Blue and Bob have upset Mobius, who is a very nice man. And we do, like you say, Mobius is saying in the chat, we have been respectful to everybody that comes round here. We're cordial.
George is sore. Sorry, Beth. I thought you were...
No, well, I say, like, George is the one, we've particularly had him round. We've had talks about us being quiet and giving George the chance to say what he says, because we know what a snowflake George is. Most people wouldn't put up with George being like George is, but we do.
That's what I was just telling him in DM. He DM'd me. He's sore about one particular meme that DP posted. You know, the one with the boxer?
The nutsack. Yeah.
And I told him, grow up, dude. They call me all kinds of names. They call me garbage man. They call me this, that, Beth Tart. Grow up.
Yeah, the
Come on.
nutsack drop has been a thing. I've got a clip with Paid NASA Shill. He says that the nutsack drop is a globe proof. You should be proud, George. You should be proud. I'll see if I can find that, because that is a good one.
Not the drop.
The nutsack drop, that's what he calls it.
Yeah. But I'm talking about something else. The boxer.
Yeah, with the nutsack.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I say, like, it's famous. The nutsack drop was named because of George. George helped us name that.
I know. I just want, you're not thinking about the one with the boats that he made after, the one before that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know which one.
I'm not sure everybody knows which one we're referring to.
Just memes.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling him. It's just a joke. Chill out, and deal with it.
Well, I mean, it's more than a joke. Paid NASA Shill has literally said that the nutsack drop is a globe proof. So that's something for you to be
Whoa.
proud of, George.
Yeah, that's a big thing there.
Yeah. Having a globe proof named after you. You'll have to have a word with Nasser Shill as to how it is a proof. He didn't actually say that. He just said it was a proof. The nutsack drop is a globe proof, is what he said. And that's precisely what Rumpus is going to go for. And we said that's a very brave move, George. Very brave move.
You know, people make fun of other people now. Get a thick skin and come and discuss facts. Forget about that. That's just one meme. They've made dozens of me making fun of me.
Hey,
so what?
George has said loads worse about us.
Oh, yeah.
Loads worse, George. Come on. Just a meme. Everybody makes memes. Well, DP makes memes.
Some of the memes of you, Bev, are the funniest memes I've seen in a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
That Loch Ness Monster one where you're measuring the Loch Ness Monster. I almost pissed myself.
I think I've got that one handy. I don't know where it is now.
Didn't we just see some memes that they put out about SE today? Didn't we see like 4 or 5 of them today, SE?
Yep. Yeah, there's dozens of them.
Yeah.
They're hot for it. I mean, they're just memes. But I mean,
Yeah.
the memes that are against SE are like blatant lies.
Yeah, they make stuff up. They make memes and they put my initials on them.
Yeah, that's pretty dishonest, that.
Yeah. But I laugh at it. I mean, when I see them, when other people, they put the smiley face, I'll laugh along with it. It's a meme. It's no big deal. Get a thicker skin, George.
There you go.
Or is it because you have no argument? The Loch Ness, yeah.
That's bad measuring as well, that. Can you not see where the mirroring is? Scaled it all wrong, haven't they?
Refraction. They forgot to put in refraction.
Well, you'd have to measure it from the base of the neck, wouldn't you? Like, that's bad. They obviously don't understand perspective. So that would, yeah, proof is there to be gained for yourself. So in the idea of that, and us going out and doing the tests that we have done, we are wandering a little bit into optics. And we went out at the weekend. Ruhif came round and we had a little bit of a chat with Ruhif while I was doing the test. Call it a test. I just wanted to go and to see whether I could get a stretch of beach a mile long of a equal elevation. And I think we've ended up finding a stretch of beach that's fairly elevation. There's similar elevation. There's a little bit of a lump, but I mean that might change a bit. But it's good. It's good for being able to do an optical test for a mile in a straight line. We were initially thinking we might need to go to Bedford to do it along the Bedford Canal, but it seems like there is a stretch of beach at Southport that is easily over a mile long and running in a straight line between high tide and between the two tides. there is a straight line that's possible to go on. So I personally, like I said to the guys, I bet I could get under the horizon in an auto level. I did that. This one I want to be able to show most people what happens when you actually do look through the auto level, as to what happens to the optics and what that horizontal line actually means, and what happens when you do walk away, because some people say there's a drop. So yeah, I went out at the weekend to do a bit of a test. Now that's in the process of being made and gift. I don't know quite what to do with the footage just yet. But what it seems is that the horizontal is always above the horizon. And obviously there is what I think we're going to be calling, I'll end up calling perspective compression, where everything compresses into a vanishing point. Now that vanishing point is not the horizontal line. It's in a different position. The horizontal line within the crosshairs is like an inch away from your eye. So it doesn't make any logical sense to me that vanishing point of the optics should be right in front of your eye anyway, but still more study to be done within the
Bev,
optics.
do you look at the convergence of light due to convex lens and how light passes through circular apertures? They make a cone shape.
You just look at the crosshair.
Again, did you hear what I said? All convex lens or any circular aperture, does light passes through it, it produces a cone shape.
Yeah, fantastic.
So light will converge into a point. It helps because there's obviously a rate that can be calculated, a rate of rise, if you will, or a rate of compression, if you will, can be calculated.
What?
The rate of perspective, the rate of the ground rising, the rate at which it rises to the neutral point of the eye.
What do you mean calculated? What is it that
so
you're calculating?
obviously, if you have a 6-foot observer and you use basic trigonometry over a distance of 16,000 feet, you'll end up with an angle of 0.0217 degrees, give or take 0.0216, 0.217. So if you were to draw a right angle triangle,
where?
So the angle is deduced on a piece of paper with the understanding that the
angle that you've just said, where is that angle? Position please. The angle.
So when you're looking off in any architectural first-person perspective, second perspective drawings, you have a neutral point of what's called the horizon line. That will be at the neutral position of the observer. In other words, the observer's looking off at a 90-degree straight right angle from this perpendicular position. From that, you can deduce a 0.0217 angle using basic trig.
Where?
What do you mean, where?
Are you deducing this angle?
From the apparent perspective convergence point.
Is it at your eyeball? Or is it miles away in the distance? Where is the
apparent
angle?
Position? The apparent position of convergence is based on the limited angle of light being able to resolve that information. When it passes that point of resolvable detail, you have a vanishing point. That particular limitation is due to the angle of light in the observer's height position. That is calculable. You can calculate that. That's what they've done to steal the idea that you live on a ball.
Is the angle? Please.
The angle is from the line of sight to the horizon, and then the height elevation above that horizontal position, or the height that is caught.
Let's do A, B, C. B being where the vertex of the angle is. Where's A and where's C?
Let's take a triangle and invert the triangle so you have the hypotenuse.
We're just talking about an angle, please. A, B, C is the angle, right? Yeah. The two lines, A to B and B to C.
Let me finish, Beth. Let me finish. Take a triangle, invert it so you have the hypotenuse running from the tip of the feet to the end of the observer's eye line. When you have that angle, you have the height of the observer, and the distance is, let's say, 2.5 to 3.5 miles. You can approximate by taking 6 foot divided by the tangent. Or sorry, you can take the arc time. You can take the arc tangent of that, which is 6 feet divided by the distance to get the degree.
What are you talking about?
You don't understand the simple demonstration to show you.
You're talking about doing trigonometry, right? In order for us to know about the trigonometry data, we need to know where the angle is that you're measuring.
So again, your feet to your eye line, there's an apparent...
A, B,
let me finish,
C.
Buddy. Let me finish.
Right, where is A?
Yeah, the A angle would be...
No, A, B, C, as lettered.
Okay, so the sides.
The B is the angle. The A, B is one line, and B, C is the other line.
C would be from the position of the foot, the hypotenuse, all the way to the point of the line of sight. So if we invert the triangle, and we have the height as far as, that would be A, B would be the distance, and C would be the hypotenuse. So A would be the height, B would be the distance.
I'm going to go and make a brew, right? Let's see who's here, who understands trigonometry and triangles. All we're trying to do is get a basic outline of what the fuck data's talking about.
A would be the height, B would be the distance, C would be the hypotenuse. If we invert the triangle...
When you say A would be the height, what are you talking about?
The side.
So A, when I'm saying A, B, C to mark the angle, and the angle will be at B, then where is A? A is a point, surely.
Okay, so if you
how
look at
can A be a height?
You
can't have a point
you have the
being a
sides
height.
and you have the angles. You have the sides and the angles. I'm not talking about the angles right now. I'm just talking about the sides. So you have the height of the observer, then you have the distance to the apparent junction or perspective compression. You take those two factors over the arc tangent, you will get 0.0217 degrees. That 0.0217 is a mathematical, derived mathematically from supposed numbers. These particular numbers are derived from the apparent junction of the sky and ground. So are they actual physical measured numbers? No, they're based on an apparent position and maths. So if you had an observer 6 foot high, you would do the arc tangent of 6 feet over the distance of 3 miles would equal an angle of 0.0216. Or you just did the rise over run, 6 divided by 15,840 times it by 57.3, you end up with 0.0217. That optical rising of the ground is not accounted for in any of the maths. When it comes to optics, it's calculated as a ball.
Dude, I'm making a brew, but it doesn't rise, does it? That's
Again,
why it's not
optical.
Calculated for.
Listen, buddy. Dickhead. It's optical, so it doesn't rise unless the ground actually does rise.
Why would they calculate an optical thing that doesn't actually rise? That's a stupid statement for you to say that they don't calculate the rise, because there isn't one.
Again, so you're understanding where the optical information has been conflated as a physical ball information. And I'm showing you through easy trigonometry in the line of sight where they can devise the apparent size of the Earth from these angles using trigonometry and math. Based on what? The subjectivity of the interpretation of what they consider to be the horizon. So objectively, you can look at an apparent position. Subjectively, you determine that apparent position to be a physical attribute to a ball or optics.
Right, so who do you think does the globe arguments better, the globers or you, Data?
Say again?
Who does the globe arguments better, the globers or you?
I'm just for truth, buddy. I'm not for anything.
So where's
but
the
truth.
angle that we're talking about? The one that you're
So the angle is drawn on a piece of paper due to the optical experience that a person
is the angle that you are calculating.
The angle you're calculating is the height above your feet.
The height is an angle.
The apparent rising is an optical effect due to the convexity of light passing through.
So the angle is a height.
Light passing through convexity of a lens and a circular aperture. You have an apparent convergence.
Why can you not tell me the position of this angle that you are calculating?
Okay, so the position is derived from the angle is derived from the apparent position of the horizon. Again, it's conflated.
Where is the angle then?
What's that?
Where's the angle?
Again, the angle is based off of the height you are above the ground and the apparent rising of the ground.
Is it?
Straight ahead of you. Line of sight.
From your eye?
Yep.
So the angle that you are calculating is an angle at your eyeball.
It's an angle based above the height of the ground you're on and the optical effect of the illusion, the optical illusion of the ground appearing to rise.
So
unless
is it an angle from horizontal from your eye?
Unless you're actually looking at land that is slowly rising, like for instance, if we're looking over a longer distance,
is it an angle?
If we're looking over a longer distance upon a floodplain and the ground is rising, the ground is rising over a floodplain, it will appear different. No different than, or it will also appear different if you're doing
Why are you struggling
observations
so much with this data.
You are not listening, right? You're basically not listening to the simplicity.
This angle is.
The angle is derived from the height above the ground and your optical illusion to the point of convergence. That's where the angle is derived from. It's an optical apparent position. It's not an actual real angle, Bev. It's not an actual real angle, no, bud.
It's not an actual real angle.
You just
it's
said
just
that,
a calculated angle that isn't real now.
It's an optical effect. That's correct. Yep.
So you're calculating
the sun doesn't actually
effect.
touch the ground, does it, Bev? The sun doesn't touch the ground there.
You're calculating an optical effect through an angle.
You're calculating an optical illusion based on perspective. You're calculating an optical illusion based on perspective, which is angles of light passing through an aperture.
We're not into calculating optical illusions.
Sure you are. Whether you try to quantify it or not, you're still going to calculate it. You're going to calculate it.
I've never ever tried to calculate an optical illusion.
Okay, so we're in an argument that they created an Earth curvature calculator for. There's no practice.
I'm just trying to find out off you where the angle was. It took me 10 minutes to find that out. And now we found out it's an optical illusion angle.
I repeated myself over and over again. Yeah, it's an angle. It's an angle created by optics. Yep, for sure. Because it's not. There's nothing joining. There's no actual convergence
it from real numbers.
No, you created those numbers.
You're manufacturing some numbers to create an optical illusion angle.
So if you're talking about calculating
who taught you to
the
do
horizon,
that data?
If you're talking about calculating the horizon, it isn't a physical junction where land and sky meet, but it is an optical limitation due to angular resolution. You can calculate that distance. Do you not deny that?
Do I not deny that?
Do you deny that?
Do I deny what? That you can make up an imaginary angle?
You can calculate your apparent angular resolution and the distance to that point of position. You can calculate how far away that is.
If you can't measure it, no, you can't.
You can measure and calculate the apparent. You can measure and calculate it. Yep. You can measure and calculate it. That's easily done.
You can't measure the distance to the horizon. That's impossible.
Okay, so you can, and you do it with meter. You do it with flags, and you can measure the distance between it. Yes, for instance,
how many
look at
flags is it to the horizon?
look at the professor who did the perspective calculations with perspective point with practical demonstration.
Data,
taking
don't
a
talk
circle with a
shite.
known
You
diameter.
cannot measure the distance to the
Again,
horizon. You can't.
It's called a perspective point. Okay, the point of convergence. And yes, you can. Okay, I'll give you a practical demonstration.
You're as bad as
You
the
guys don't know then.
ballers.
Here's a practical demonstration you can do.
perhaps
Take
one of
any
the worst,
size.
I think.
Listen, I will teach you something then, because you don't know perspective point. It's based on perspective. So yes, you can calculate. In early astronomy, they used this
perspective.
Again, this is done from practical demonstration. So Rob, go draw a circle of 5 centimeters.
It's
Listen,
drawn.
bud. Rob, go draw a circle 5 centimeters in diameter or whatever you want. Take that thing and move it away from you. It will eventually converge into a point. Well, guess what? There's a calculation you can do just by taking math based on the angular resolution of the eye and its size to get the distance of that vanishing point. Do you understand that?
You're talking shite, Data.
It's not talking shite.
Go on,
take any diameter of any fucking circle.
No, Data, please. I don't want to hear about it.
It's called a perspective point. It's not new.
I've
been researching optics for 5 years, buddy.
Okay,
it's not new.
Go and talk to somebody who's bothered about it.
Rob, take a diameter of any circle you have, or whatever it is, times it by 3,000. You'll get a perspective point. In other words, you'll find the distance. You'll find how many. For instance, if it's.
There you go. Why does he always have to do that? And what does he think he's doing? Is that because I said I've been out with the auto level? Trying to teach us about perspective.
Can I just say it's impossible to calculate or measure the distance to the horizon?
Mm-hmm. I would agree with you and disagree with Data. Talking shite. Because he's talking about an angle. He didn't even know where the angle was. He just wanted to say that you could calculate an angle. I don't actually think he understands the geometry behind the angle. Because it's part of a triangle. And if he's calculating it through trigonometry, there should be a triangle there to be drawn. And if he cannot point out the points of the triangle that he's talking about, where the angle is, then it's not much of an angle.
Well, it's bad enough when you're using an angle, but when you're deriving a calculation from an apparent position, it should have ended right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know why he has to do it. It must be starved of time or whatever. I know there's probably a group of them who like to imagine that they can come in and tell us sort of things about what they're going to calculate. You don't do calculations with optics. You just look. There's no point in doing calculations because it's perspective. You're looking through a window. You're just projecting the image onto that window. That's all it is. There's no calculations in it. Just drawing lines. Vanishing points. So, I mean, I don't know whether Data was coming in with some sort of a proof, but it did sound like he was able to calculate or measure how far away it was to the horizon. Which would put the horizon as a geometric thing with a distance to it. Almost sounds like he has a model in mind. If you say you can measure it with flags.
You're a moron if you think you can't do calculations with optics.
There we go.
You are an utter moron. That's what geometrical optics spend their entire time doing, calculations with optics. Camera lens designers spend their entire time doing calculations with optics. The fact that you think that calculations are not involved in optics just demonstrates,
You're
you're an
to
idiot who
support-
doesn't understand an auto level, and a theodolite can do the
So
same
do
thing
you
regarding
think-
giving an
What a way to make an entrance, Rumpus.
Do you think
Yeah,
you
evening.
can measure the distance
Evening,
to the
Montreal.
horizon, Rumpus? Yeah. Are you?
Sorry, game? What was
Do you
that?
think you can measure the distance to the horizon?
Yes, if you know the height, you know the curvature of the Earth, you know your height, you can measure the distance to the horizon, no problem.
Measure? What's your height got to do with measuring?
Because you work out the optical, right? You take you can work out what the dip from your knowledge of the. Let me see, just look at my
I
calculator.
said measuring, right?
Well, you can calculate it.
Ah, that's not a measurement though, right? The thing was that Data's claim was he could measure the distance to the horizon using flags. So
Yeah,
do you go with that? Is that something you would go with?
With flags, no, I don't think. No, that seems very strange.
Mm.
Well, he's gibbering.
I told Data he was talking shite, and I think Rob did as well. So at least we agree on that one, Rumpus. Now, you were talking about an auto level, Rumpus. Now, can I ask you again? Have you ever looked through an auto level at your Bedford Canal?
I told you I have done briefly, but I haven't had it with my targets in place.
Mm. Did you see where the crosshair was from the bridge?
I can't remember where the day I did that might have been the visibility might have been a problem.
Oh. Just in relation to the sluice gate in front?
Yeah, well, I'll find out on the day of the test.
Yeah. That'll be the first time you'll have ever looked through an auto level over at
No, I've looked through an auto level lots of times. But on my test,
Nice.
I haven't done a full observation with an auto level.
Mm-hmm. We did. We walked away a mile last week at the weekend.
You walked a mile from where? What?
From
not,
the
not,
auto
not the Bedford
level.
levels.
No. But I mean, we could do it at the. Well, we did actually. We went on that berm at the side.
Yes, because so you finally discovered. You've got a problem because the auto level shows consistently that the horizon drops, which of course can't happen on a flat Earth.
The
So
horizon doesn't
you're beginning
drop.
to have worries, are you, Bev? Well done.
The horizon doesn't drop, Rumpus.
Oh, it does. It does. It goes below the horizontal, so it drops.
Goes.
And I can
below
tell
the
that you're beginning
horizontal.
to start to realise what's going on. You're now worried. You're going to have to try and
I'm
find
not
some
worried at all.
bollocks to justify this observation.
No.
So,
We've been
good
taking
luck.
pictures through the auto level for quite a while. We were the ones that put the camera on the back of the auto level, Rumpus.
I did that a year ago.
Ooh. Have you got any video on that, or are you just
No.
doing a ranty? I did that first.
Well,
I did that.
I've got some photographs that from a year ago, but I haven't got any video. Or have I? Oh, no, I might have some video actually. But no,
When are you doing your videos about your test?
I'm in the process of making them.
Okay.
So hopefully within a week or two, I'll have some done. I've got so much to do. I've got so much footage of us building the thing and the theoretical side of things and goodness knows what, and diagrams and what have you. There's going to be many videos on it, and when the first one will turn up, I don't know. But hopefully within a week.
Okay. How big do you reckon you're going to have to get your bendy stick?
Well, I told you.
Could I just pop in here for 1 second before Rumpus starts up again?
Go ahead.
All right, Rumpus. You're a
This
moron.
question first. Can I just ask?
All you've done is give us kindergarten drawings. You ain't done nothing, bro.
I haven't done nothing. Okay.
You're the moron.
Right, you're a moron.
Give us some video evidence of something you've done.
No.
Other than that, you should just shut up.
No,
You're not worth our time.
You're not qualified to talk to me. Neither is Bev. Actually, I don't.
You have no idea about me.
You came in
I
here,
know you're a
Rumpus.
moron. I can tell you're a
we
moron.
know.
I can tell you.
We know you're
moron.
frightened, Rumpus, because you've
No,
got
you
a
don't.
shit
You
test
come in
and
here
you don't even know
projecting
what
on
you're
us.
doing.
Like, no. The one thing I was frightened. I can assure you, except for your own personal welfare.
Is that
the
a
height,
threat,
I
Rumpus?
told you.
It sounds very threatening, that, Rumpus.
Well, no, I didn't want to get in a situation where I might be inclined to do something like with you. I don't know. Well, I didn't realise what your intentions were at the time.
You're gonna do.
What were our intentions, Rumpus?
I can
What
assure
do you
you, it's
think
for
our
your.
intentions
I can assure
were?
you, it was for your welfare. Anyway,
What do you think our intentions were, Rumpus?
I didn't know. Could have been anything.
But you
talked
didn't
in
come
your
over
private,
for my
private
welfare.
schoolyard? Is that the kind of highbrow exchanges you made?
Well, I
will
regard Bev
now
as a more...
give you a written, written statement like that. Is that how you do it?
Well, I regard Bev as an obnoxious creature, someone who seems to be a compulsive liar as well. I mean, don't make that accusation lightly. I think I've only ever accused
Okay,
him of
Rumpus, let's continue the conversation. You can't even take a joke. Okay,
Yeah,
continue.
I didn't quite hear what you said.
Well, I
I'm
think
sorry.
I might, if I go to Bedford again, Rumpus, I might have to get the police around for a guard, because you never know what might happen. If you might violently start attacking random people at the side of it. We never know, Rumpus.
But I don't know. I didn't know what your intentions were.
Who knows what Rumpus might do? Everybody best be aware that Rumpus is the guy.
If you are as
type of guy that
obnoxious in
threatens
real
people.
life as you are online, then I felt you said something like I'm going to interfere with your observation, then I may have taken measures. Anyway.
But you look
Rumpus.
beefier than I thought you would. I thought you'd be like a little wimpy guy, but you got some beef on you.
He thinks, sorry, Rumpus,
Yeah.
you think I might say that I want to interfere with your observation?
4 members of the
Rumpus.
rugby club tried to take me on, and 3 of them ended up on the floor shortly afterwards. Anyway,
you do look big. Yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah. Anyway. So just let's. Much as
I don't know whether I can talk to you,
how
Rumpus.
manly I am.
You've just sort of threatened me, and
no, I didn't
threatened.
threaten you.
You said
I
that if
didn't
you would
threaten
ever see me, you have to walk away because of my welfare. I mean, that sounds like you're a bit unstable, to be honest.
Oh, I'm very stable. No,
it
I'm
seems
very
like you
stable.
can't control yourself.
Oh, I can. Unless I didn't know what your behaviour might be like.
I'm not
I mean,
too sure.
If you were to be an
solid
aggressive,
green?
provocative little wanker like you are on here, then I'd be inclined to obviously.
I think
put you in
he's
your
got a
place.
solid green,
Anyway, let's.
Do y'all want that here?
I didn't know what he was saying. I couldn't hear it. Or did he say something?
Well, he's just insulting. I'm asking, you want me to take him off of mute?
Well, he's like,
we're just
that's
having
all he's
fun.
ever going to
Don't
do.
bet on
To be honest, Dave, that was actually like the funniest rumpus I've ever heard. Like, I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah, that was fun, Rakia. Let him go. Let him go.
Anyway, so now I had all that fun. You asked me how tall I would, and I told you that. I mean, obviously,
No,
you've
I
got the memory of a
I
goldfish.
asked you why you can't seem to control yourself
I can.
out in public.
I can.
Are you sure they should be making a newspaper article about the Great Rumpus and his
They should, yeah. They should,
experiment of
They're very keen on the idea.
dropping water?
They're very, very keen on the idea.
Okay. Well, I wonder whether they'd like to do a story about that, how you can't control yourself.
Well, you're just making stuff up now. So this is where your compulsive lying comes in, you see.
Well,
And I noticed you've
why-
been lying about George as well. I mean, you see.
Why wouldn't
you've
I
got-
be
you've got
able
the
to go
coffee in
to
a very
Bedford
poor
Canal?
memory,
I mean,
and
what's up with that? Why can't I go there?
You're one of the few people I've accused of being a compulsive liar. I don't make that charge lightly. But
You're one
do
of the
seem to
few
be one of the
people
few
that have
people
said that they
in
had
this
to walk
community
away from
who
me
is
for
a
my own
compulsive
welfare.
liar.
I've never
I mean,
heard anybody
you are
say that.
I do believe you're a compulsive liar. I mean, I don't make
Okay,
that
Rumpus, when is
accusation.
the test going to happen? Is it going to happen this fall or?
No,
Is
it's I want people to be comfortable when they're doing it. So it's going to be in the late spring, early summer next year.
Name
But-
something.
Let's put it off until next year. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I've got lots of footage and videos to share. Construction things.
He's clipping you there because they're talking over you. You've got to.
Anyway, so you were asking me about how.
No,
big
Spot On
the-
was asking you a question, Rumpus.
I was asking you, Rumpus. Sorry if you can't hear
I'm
me.
still trying to. I can hear you, but I was still trying to haven't been able to answer the question that Bev asked me about 5 minutes ago. Go ahead.
What did Bev lie about? You said he was a compulsive
Well, he
liar.
lies. For instance, he's just lied about me threatening him, which I didn't do. He lies about what George said. He's lied about other things, and there's been a whole catalogue. I mean, you can see this in his behaviour, where he deliberately misrepresents what people have done. So he's basically lying about them. And he makes a habit of it. I think his interactions with Sly, I think he's lied about what has happened on Twitter and things. I mean, he's one of the few people that I would accuse of being
He's
a liar.
lied about what's happened on Twitter. What the fuck is that generalisation? It was you lying about it, Rumpus.
You misrepresent things that have happened to you, or other things, and you seem to do it deliberately. Now, I think you may have a fault memory as well. I think there's a good possibility that there's something strange about your memory where you seem to forget things that happened to you, and possibly from your point of view, you think you're telling the truth. Perhaps that's a generous explanation, but there's something odd going on there, and you do seem to be willfully misrepresenting, certainly, and that's not something an accusation I make very lightly.
Could it be the argument that's devastating to you? Could it be just Bev's argument that
he hasn't got an argument?
Level is horizontal.
I'm happy
Could
to
it be
deal
that?
with.
Rumpus?
I'm happy to deal with any argument. I take on board. I never shy away from an argument or people asking me questions ever. And Bev has absolutely nothing. I mean, he's got one of the most appalling arguments
He has
ever.
a proof, Rumpus. Do you care to hear it?
He doesn't have a proof.
He does?
No, he hasn't. He doesn't even understand the difference between horizontal and level. I mean, the guys.
Would you care to hear it? Would you care to hear it?
All right, okay. But let's remember, this is a guy who doesn't think a theodolite can do the job of an auto level. This is a guy who claims to know about surveying, yet he's never read a surveying book. This guy, unfortunately, is a charlatan and a fraud.
Stop lying.
Here we go. Right, so you're now going to respond in kind, are you? Because now you've been accused of it. You think the best way of getting out of it is to
I have a certificate up on my wall for land surveying.
Yeah, and all you've done for that
how
is
do you get a certificate without reading a book?
I do
Stop
not believe you've
being a disingenuous
any written test, I suspect, in surveying. The only thing you've ever done is to stand by a post and hold it up, I suspect, is all you've done. And look through an auto level. I think those are probably the only two things you've done. You are incapable of answering questions about surveying. You'd have got them all wrong, so that whatever it is you've got cannot be the result of an written exam.
You haven't even looked through an auto level at your test.
I have, but
you
I didn't have my test in place.
You have not, Rumpus, because you wouldn't still be carrying on with the bullshit that you think you're going to be doing.
So you don't think that the horizontal will be above the sluice gate then?
You are something.
Hold on. Let's do a check here. This is quite important. So then, you don't think that an auto level on the bridge will show a horizontal above the sluice gate in the distance then?
Which sluice gate, Rumpus?
Oh, Jesus Christ. The distant one at 8 kilometres, you stupid twat.
Oh, well, yeah, it's definitely going to be miles above that, isn't it?
Well, there you are.
That's what the question to you, Rumpus, is. The question to you, Rumpus,
that's the thing I'm going to measure.
Do you think you can get...
I'm going to make of that.
Rumpus, do you think you can get your little wobbly pole up high enough to put it in that crosshair?
I do, and that's the answer I think I was trying to answer you about 10 minutes ago.
That's why I know you've never looked through an auto level at the Bedford Canal.
And I'm assuring you, and I told you when we had this exchange, 2 weeks ago on this channel or the other channel?
You could have come
I said to you, I put enough latitude into the height of those poles to guarantee they could cover the area such that it would match the horizontal in an auto level at 8
If you've
kilometers.
never looked at the horizontal through an auto level, how do you know how
Because
high
I've done
you're
the
going to have
calculations.
to... yeah.
I have done the calculations.
You should have
and
done
I'm
the
confident
optical
about
test of looking through an auto
Well, that's what we're going to be
level.
doing for the test. You'll be able to see me doing that live.
Yeah, like I say, you could have come and had a look.
Yes, but
yourself.
I regard you as an obnoxious wanker. I don't like to interact with you in any
we've
way
still got
whatsoever.
the footage.
Although I'm doing
We've
it here
still
for
got
some
the
reason. I don't
footage.
quite know why.
We've got the
regard
footage anyway.
You're one of the 3 or 4 flat earthers that I really regard as utterly obnoxious. I mean, even
Not a
Data,
flat
who's a
earther.
complete twat, isn't
Not
as obnoxious
a
as you are.
flat earther,
Nathan,
Rumpus.
you're more obnoxious than
You're
Nathan
more of
Oakley
a flat
from
earther
QE.
than I am.
Rumpus, do you know the relationship between the crosshair, the middle line and the other lines?
I do indeed, and Bev doesn't. He doesn't understand that an auto
Can you
level
tell
is
us?
measuring
Can you
angles.
tell the audience, for those of us who don't know?
Well, I think it's 10 milliradians between the horizontal and each of the stadia marks, or 20 milliradians between the two of them, I think, as far as I remember. It's either 10 or 20
An angle.
milliradians. And it's an angle, because of course, I don't know if anybody in the panel here remembers when he's had debates with people, he's never understood that the auto level measures angles. He's always thought about it in terms of his staff, because he doesn't understand how they work, because he's never read a surveying book, because he doesn't understand the whole principle of auto levels theodolites, which of course he claims can't do the job of an auto level, because he hasn't read a book. He doesn't understand what's doing. All he knows is that if he sticks a post and then he measures the angle off it, he knows he can multiply that number by 100 because it's in 10 milliradians. He knows he can multiply the number by 100. So in other words, he's got a very low level practical use of it, but he doesn't understand any.
Do you want to read that there, Rumpus?
All right, Rumpus.
Just a minute, Rob. In the live chat there, Rumpus.
Okay. Advantages of auto level, yeah.
To see what the disadvantages of an auto level are. I've highlighted it for you.
Yeah, that's a different. Yeah, what the vertical angles cannot be measured.
Yeah, it can't measure vertical angles. Like you've just said it can. And it's one of the disadvantages that it fucking can't.
It gives you.
You've been listening to Ruhif. Ruhif's been telling you a load of shite.
Right, I'll explain. You don't understand the
you mean I don't understand?
You don't understand, and I'm about to tell you what you don't understand.
It's not an angle measuring device, Rumpus. It's an auto level.
Those two stadia marks. Those two stadia marks. Hold on. Let's see if Bev can get this right. Those two stadia marks that Montreal just asked me about. What is the separation between them?
What?
Tell me. Now you see, you don't know, do you?
When you say let, can you just
hold on. Let's stop trying to save Bev. Stop trying to save Bev. Let him answer. Stop trying to save Bev. You could come back in a second. Let Bev answer that question. What is the separation between the two? Be quiet. Stop trying to save Bev here. Stop trying to save Bev. Stop trying to save Bev. Stop trying to save Bev. Come on, Bev, speak up. We want to hear what you've got to say.
I'm not talking to you about the stadia hairs, Rumpus, because we all know what the stadia hairs are there for. We've all done it in here, Rumpus. You're the only one that hasn't.
Now, how do you feel?
Oh, good. Thank fucking God. I was just about to fucking do that shit.
Wow.
You're walking on thin ice there, Rumpus. You gotta respect, bro.
He's deafened himself. I
never looked through an auto. Bev, I never looked through an auto level.
Have you not seen us when we go live?
But I've never actually looked through an auto level.
Well, that's why we put the camera on it, Rob.
No,
so you can.
I know.
Yeah. And we've all done.
I just mean I've never put.
We can do it. Like we have the ability to do that, and we did it. So anyone that was in here when we went to Bedford, we put the camera on the auto level, pointed it down Bedford Canal, and put it on the Discord. People could see it, and they did. Look at it. Turn up. Hot mic.
Oops.
So they did hear it and see it. Which Rumpus still hasn't done. That's the point I was making. I know, because I've proved it to myself. I still want to go down there. There's a couple more shots that I want to get. But yeah, we've got a shot where you can see the canal at the other end. You can see the sluice gate at the other end. In fact, I'll get it. I'll put it up. But we also put an auto level up there. We can see where that line is. We know how high Rumpus is going to have to push his pole in order to put it in that crosshair.
So if you survey a mile and you get an 8-inch drop at the other end, that's earth curve or an elevation change?
If you survey a mile...
Yeah. Yeah, survey a mile. Like you want a straight stretch for 1 mile,
Yeah.
and it's 8 inches lower at the other end off your horizontal. That's a curve or an elevation change.
That's a drop. It's an elevation change.
All right, thank you.
Obviously so. There you go. There's the picture. There's a picture taken from one bridge where Rumpus is going to be, where he's going to put his auto level up. And you can see the sluice gate that's 6 miles away. You can see Salterslow Bridge that is 6 miles away. What you can't see is the sluice gate that we're looking through in that, because there's another sluice gate. And you can't see because it's not taken through an auto level, because you're never going to be able to see that far with an auto level. That's how I know he's not going to be able to see it. That's why I know that Rumpus hasn't looked through an auto level. And the crosshairs are very high in that picture. Like higher than where the S is in Salter's Load. And that's about where Rumpus is going to be with his little stick. It might make it to where the B is somewhere in the bridge, but he'll never make it up to where the crosshairs in the auto level are. Because Rumpus has never looked through an auto level at that place. And he's going to be embarrassed when he does it. But it's going to be funny. Going to be very funny. Even Toady says in the chat that Rumpus is experiment. Nah, never. What Rumpus is looking for is a drop of that water level away from the horizontal, because that's what Rumpus imagines that he's going to see, is that water level dropping. The water level that you can see in the picture that goes all the way up the picture and goes under the bridge in the
That's
picture.
what I wanted to ask him before he started behaving like a child. Why did he go for the drop instead of what everybody else went for, the hump?
Yeah, it's because it's a quadratic function. You can times it by 4. You go big. But I mean, I think he's in with Ranty and Ruhif, because they're also going for the drop and the measuring the angle. Data, strangely enough, seem to be saying a similar sort of thing, an angle of drop and all of that. It's rather strange, but through the optic test that we've been doing just recently, I'm suspecting that the horizontal doesn't work over a distance because of the vanishing point is not on the horizontal. It's a ways below, and that's probably got something to do with the way that perspective works, and also the fact that the horizontal line is literally an inch away from your eyeball, and the way that the prisms and the glass works. All of the gubbins works within about 3 inches of the end of the auto level, because that's the way the optics work, and it fires the light through, and it works with the isometric triangular linear representation of the triangles within the stadia hairs. But it's just a ratio of representation based on Euclidean geometry, linear effect, which again we're getting out of this, but it works like that. The water rises up, and the perspective compression compresses everything into what's known in perspective geometry as the vanishing point. but that vanishing point is not on the horizontal, which a lot of people imagine it is. But most people have never actually looked through an auto level. They've just put a camera there, and then you're judging what you imagine the horizontal to be. And it's only a horizontal within a limited range because of perspective and stuff. Hopefully I'll try and show that a bit better. But like we're just learning.
Okay, so I just had a thought. Because, you know, when you look off into the distance, like say it's a cloudy overcast day like I got right now, you can see like 3 miles and then the clouds look like they're touching the ground. But, you know, if you get 3 miles above those clouds, they go on forever. I don't know if anybody's tracking what I'm saying, but like from underneath the clouds, they seem to touch the ground at a certain distance. But if you get above the clouds, like you look at footage from an airplane, those clouds go on forever on a straight line.
Yeah, I've never been up in a plane that often.
Oh. Just had a thought, something to think about. Because from the ground, the clouds look like they touch the ground. But when you get above the clouds, those clouds look like they stretch on way farther than they should.
Yeah, I've...
on a model.
Yeah, we've got to look at things like perspective, right? Now, there is such a thing as perspective geometry. It does exist. And as you'd imagine, straight lines. The actual perspective part of it, anyway. Not what you're drawing or whatever, but the concept of it is straight line geometry. But we've been told recently, like by Ruhif, that well, not only do straight lines bend, but light bends, and you don't actually see what you see in the position that you see it. But I mean, that's because we go laser waving, which is the other thing that we've been doing at the weekend. We wanted something to do to get people involved in things, finding a way to get out and about and do stuff. Obviously, because the test season has ended, that being better to do it if they were in the summer months or whatever. So we're going to go out and do a spot of what we're calling laser waving. Now, to go along with the proof at the beginning, the proof is personal. And for you to be gaining yourself, the idea of the laser waving is just to get people out doing stuff within, I don't know. The idea is that we're going to be going out round our area, Southport, Blackpool, Ainsdale, Barrow, Liverpool perhaps, I don't know, maybe even somewhere over in Wales, and go laser waving and see where we can see. We've got a prediction. We've been practicing it and testing it with the cameras, and we've got a method. We'll be putting a video out soon about how we do it and how we get it all together. But we've been Blackpool to Ainsdale, or Ainsdale to Blackpool, A to B. They're just two places you find. We can get one person in one place and another person at the other place, and we look on Google. We can find our elevation. It's best off if you can have a point where you can move up and down, obviously, which is ideal at the beach because we both have dunes, sand dunes, that we can walk up and down from Southport to Blackpool, 11.5 miles, or Ainsdale to Blackpool. And the question to the Globe model believers, who's how high do the lasers have to be from the ground in order for you to be able to see them? We've not had anybody give us a correct, well, not say a correct answer, but any sort of answer yet, because they don't like to predict things like that. I think Bob got annoyed and told us we should be at least 15 feet above the ground, because we shouldn't be doing it at ground level for some reason. And there was somebody else the other day that wouldn't give us an idea. But I mean, that's the idea, is just to get people out. And now it could be anywhere. I don't know if anybody's aware that Dave Weiss has an app. I don't know whether I can get the FE Clock app that has a messaging system where people, there's little dots all over his map.
Yeah, I have the app. I've never actually looked at that part of the app yet. I wonder how many people have the app and haven't even looked at that part of the app yet. Might even be lots of people like me.
Yeah.
But I have the app. The app's great. If you're trying to push a model.
It's about 100,000 subscribes and 35,000 on the app. Well, Blue Dot app.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. See that?
I personally, I was a part of Zoom Truth's app before David Weiss stole the idea. Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, there's quite a few blue dots, and that's just in the UK. They're obviously people that own the app. So the idea is to just let it be known that we do laser waving. And the more people we can get involved in it, the better, because then we get more people to be able to do tests and just get out. And it doesn't have to be at the seaside. You could go get to your local high mountain. The idea is just to get out and do stuff. Like, obviously, we can show people that we can do stuff on the Discord. We can get people to come in here, and you can show your cameras, or you can get involved. You can watch what we do when we go out doing our tests on the Discord, because it's very interactive in the Discord. We're quite often doing things. We've got live music with Buster, live music nights. Oh yeah, we do tests quite regular. The next big one, hopefully, we're hoping for one at December 11th. Laser waving, that is. So we're gonna have to get a video out showing everyone the test that we do. It's a bit hard to portray it in a video format, because it's one of those things you have to get involved in. So yeah, laser waving, also straight lines. And is that what you imagine with lasers? If you see the light in the distance, is that proof that you've seen the light from where it was? Or do you not consider that a proof? Like, Ruhif, would you consider that path of the light had actually bent around, curved around the, I don't know, in the air? curved around the air for some reason. I don't know, is it? I think it might have been claimed possible gravity causing the light to bend.
What the first word I thought of when you said curved air was the term they all like to use, atmosphere. Atmosphere.
Just the
curved air.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
Just
it.
atmos.
What is the curvature rate of air?
0.
Yeah, it's a gas.
There's no sphere in atmos, just atmos. Unless somebody can show us air in a ball in a sphere shape.
Yeah, Paige, we've had Buster and friend. I forgot his name. One of the most amazing guitar players I think I've ever seen. Not just heard, seen. Yeah, it's something to be yeah. You just gotta be here. In fact, I think I have got a recording of it, about an hour. Still trying to decide what to do. Got a couple of videos to do. So, anyone want to recap the logic? Or do you want to release the rumpus?
Well, you want me to give my logical statement?
Yeah, may as well. I mean, this is logic night, right? So anybody can refute it.
All right. So if vertical, like a vertical line, is perpendicular to a horizontal line, then all vertical lines on that horizontal are parallel. Bam.
Nice. I had to use that in an argument the other day, but they don't seem to...
Yeah, they can't refute that unless they believe in some sort of model and can't prove their model without just using words.
Yeah. That's going to be the central part of my theorem. That very fact. But it needs to be worded correctly. But
I have one that I think will trigger them.
They're the best ones. Go on.
One man's vertical cannot be another man's horizontal.
Yeah, I like that. That's just a statement.
Hey, I like that one, SE. That's a pretty good one. You should hang on to that one.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
The impossibility of working from one to another. I like it. We're missing Saragaki. Maybe because we changed nights. So, yeah. The next level Discord server is what I'm calling the new pub. It's a server where you just get together and chat. There's some good people in here and some good conversation. It's very well moderated, although it doesn't even need to be moderated. Because usually especially when we're not live, then the show ponies don't come, and most people are respectful when they're in the server. You get the I'll put the link up. The conversation will still be continuing. If anybody wants to come, although I think that most people already know about the server and the Discord.
Wow, I just looked at that screenshot. Those freaking dots. You got a lot of motherfucking dots. Sorry about the noise. Co-workers. Sorry.
Yeah, there's a lot of people around this area where we are. And if you look as well, there's a guy out on the oil rigs. So that'd be good. If we can laser wave and get the guy out on the oil rig as well. I mean, I don't know how far you're meant to be able to see with these lasers, but it'd be interesting to find out. I'd love to get people together. Especially in the bit that we're in the down at Blackpool, Southport area in the cove there. There's a chance for us to do. I mean, we know we can get 11.5 miles from Ainsdale to Blackpool. I think we could get Formby and be on the beach. So, I mean, being able to get from, close to a 0 feet at both locations is handy. I think we had a guy come in the other day who's keen, and he was from Barrow, from the sea, so he could see from Barrow. So that's another one across the way. Ainsdale, Blackpool, and Barrow. Anybody else that wants to come in there is around that sort of area. What's that? So he says, it says for me it's impossible to accept invitation. Why is that? Does my Discord have to be on? I honestly don't know. The link should work, Gadget. I don't know. Does anyone know why it would say it's impossible for you to accept the invite to the Discord? No. No, I don't know. I don't know how easy it is or how it works. It was a long time ago since I first logged on to Discord. Might be worth doing a how to join video. I'll keep an eye on the landing.
It looks like you guys are in much more abundance in your area than in mine.
You need to fill it up a bit.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to get out there and do something, I think.
Yeah, look at all that. There's plenty of chance for people to get out, isn't there? Again, it doesn't really prove anything. It just proves that we can use an app and get together and get out and do stuff. This is in these times that we're in. Like I say, this is the new pub for us. This is our meeting place. This is where we just chat about shit. We hang out. We do stuff. But this is a way to get out where you don't actually have to meet people. You can be miles away from them, but still get involved in it. You can come to the pub, switch your camera on, go and meet up. Get out there. Wave some lasers. Let's get some nice pictures as well while we're out there. So if anybody wants to come and get involved in the we're at the creative stage now. We've got the argument. What we need to do is find out a way to get that argument across to people in a nice simplified way. So if there's anybody out there that thinks that they might be able to help us communicate better, then I'm always up for any advice or help or any sort of conversation. Most of the time I'm in here making the videos and doing stuff. There's normally quite a few. There's a good group of people around. And we have got one of the best arguments there is. In fact, I think the best argument there is. It's very simple as well. It's not as complicated as most people think. Only when you talk to a certain group of people that have to obfuscate a very simple argument.
Yeah, because if the Earth is a spherical object, then all standing water must curve.
Uh-huh. That's the truth. And does it? Have you got anything to finish that off, Rob?
I don't know. Have you ever heard of this tool? It's called a water level.
Yeah.
It establishes a horizontal plane.
Have you ever heard of the tool, the rumpus? It establishes a disoriented state of mind.
It's meant to get you angry, right? That you're a moron and all of that. It's meant to annoy you, and then you go into an argument that. But I mean, I just consider it's his mental condition. He just has to do it. Just let him go with it, because he's making himself look stupid.
It's like a baby. You just let him. You let him cry it out.
Yeah.
When they're all done crying, you're like, okay, you're ready to go to the store now. Yeah.
But he's never actually ready.
No, yeah, just a few more.
That's why you leave him out for 5-10 minutes and then you put him back in the cage.
There we go. Come on in, Celtic Tiger.
I got a 4-day weekend. It's gonna be nice. Definitely gonna make it out to that overlook again.
Oh, we got a video coming out tomorrow. Might be upsetting for someone, but.
And we have the distinguished Ruhif.
Distinguished.
Oh,
Hang on.
Coming.
I'm being sarcastic.
Hello.
Oh, you got a shite mic again, Ruhif.
Yeah, I didn't bring my headphones. So you're on the car audio.
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah. Do you want to put you on the Bluetooth? Hold on.
I feel like with Ranty, like if he doesn't need a stage mic, just like some Apple AirPods are fine, right? That's like $100. That'll save him a whole bunch of money.
Yeah. It doesn't need a
Well,
studio.
it'll save the people giving to his GoFundMe. Won't save him any money.
Yeah, but Ruhif is a millionaire. He can afford gold-plated earbuds.
Yeah, I've got AirPods. I just don't have them on me.
Well, I got AirPods too, Ruhif. You got to
Ask your chauffeur for his.
I'm driving you, idiot, Ryan.
You fucking arsehole.
Holy shit, that was quick, Brian. Holy shit, that was quick. You're a very unstable man, Brian.
Well, to be fair, you do say the same things about me, Ruhif.
Who was that? Because your microphone shit. Who am I talking to?
Well, yeah, I don't have my AirPods in. I'm on my phone.
Yeah, is that data, though?
No, it's not data.
It does sound like data, doesn't it? That's the old data when...
You know it's not data because I stopped talking for a period of time, so there's no way.
Good point. So right of hand then. Right of hand.
No, that's left palm. His cousin.
Okay. Yeah.
What's the topic then, Bev?
We're going on about proof today.
Proof of what?
Well, anything. Like, what can you have proof of? What is there proof of? How do you gain your proofs? What was the first thing that you managed to prove to yourself? Or do you just let the giants do that?
I think, therefore I am,
provable, right? Easily provable that water doesn't bend and cannot form a curve.
And that's exactly. That'd be the first thing I went for what can you prove to yourself? I don't know. It'd be interesting to know what Ruhif's managed to prove, or what Ruhif finds proof.
Well, when you said prove to yourself, it satisfies your own burden of evidence. That's subjective, right? So you prove anything to yourself.
Well, could I prove it? But the thing is, like, you can't prove anything to someone else, right? Like, I could never prove to you anything that I believe. You would have to prove it to yourself. Like, that's what he's getting at.
I would provide you with evidence, and then it's up to you, to your subjective burden. What compels you? That's subjective. So no, you can't. Yeah, you can't prove anything to me.
That's why proof.
And I can't prove anything to you.
There's an element of subjectiveness to proof because it's based on the person, right? So
yeah, in this context, yes,
yeah. Sunsets prove globe to some people, and it proves the sun moving to others. So it's all how you. And this is what I always get on, right? You have the facts, and then you have the interpretation of the facts. And this argument, all Earth, flat Earth, it's always over the interpretation of the facts. You never argue the facts, or rarely.
Yeah, I'd phrase it a little bit differently, but sure, yeah.
Say, look at that, Rupert. We're already holding hands.
Yes, we are.
Can't we adopt the Sherlock Holmes approach, deductive reasoning?
You can't deductively reason anything in the real world, because to have those, it's like the laws of physics, right? You can deduce from them, but they are inductively reached in the first place. There's always an inductive leap.
But don't you need a reality? Don't you need something concrete to make your inductions from?
No, you just gotta. If you drop a ball and it falls 1,000,000 times, you induce, inductively infer that that's what's going to happen next time. But you can't prove it.
So when the ball drops, what is that action? That's not a proof of something?
No, just observation.
So
you could change the medium that you're dropping it in. Perhaps change the medium you're dropping it in and see if that has any effect.
Yeah,
but didn't you first have to pick it up?
Mm-hmm. You'll still always have these correlations.
Have to pick it up.
Fine, yeah. But you'll always have
before
these
you picked it up. What was it doing?
Hang on, we're lagging by like half a second. You go. Or I'll go. Yeah, you can pick up a ball and drop it and do that a million times. There's no way to prove that next time you do it, it'll happen.
Isn't the ball falling because of unchanging physical laws?
Oh, it's just an example. We're not really talking physics.
Well,
but,
yeah, I know.
It's
Well,
just an example.
But like almost anything, right? Like if something happens, right? There's a mechanism that happens, like that follows, and that's when people talk about laws. That's what I'm saying. It's like you drop a ball, it doesn't fall because blah blah blah. It falls in essence because there is an unwritten law that we cannot see that dictates that, and that's not we cannot.
That's
change
an assumption as well. That's an inductive inference as well. I mean, there could be a fucking demon that's sitting there behind you going, oh, every time he lets go of that ball, I'm going to make it fall to the ground. And then when he says it's a law, I'm going to not make it fall to the ground. Just to fuck him up. You can't disprove that.
Could we make a law not so much for the why, right? Like, I don't want to make a law that says the ball falls because, right? Like, wouldn't the law just be the ball falls? And then you can induce, right? Because to make inductions, you have to start with the facts. So the ball falling, I would set as the fact, and then I can deduce or make deductions from that fact onto why it's falling.
Yeah, so laws, that's what laws are, but theories are the explanations for why the laws are the way they are.
Yeah, and I would say that the laws are unchanging, right? This is why the rock will always fall. Not, so that for me, again, I'm not trying to put it onto you, but that's how I would prove to myself, right? The law is proof to me, and then the interpretation I don't really worry too much about because that's very subjective.
Yeah, I think the laws are unchanging as well, but can I prove that? No. I mean, I live my life every day that the laws of physics don't change.
So so you're just struggling with, not struggling, but you just don't accept that we can prove that there's these, so that there's laws and you're with me on that. It's just that since we can't see them, we can't definitively say what they are exactly.
No, I'm saying we can't prove them. I accept that they exist. It's more than met my burden of like my, what I find compelling, obviously. But I can't prove that these laws are the way they are.
Yeah, like you couldn't show me what, because it's like there is no law to read. Like you can go into a Congress book and read the law and be like, this is the law. You can't do that with physics. You got to do things.
Right. And the laws of physics are descriptive, right? So they're not prescriptive like the, legislation, right?
Well, when we're talking about the laws that we say, right? Because there are the unwritten laws that don't change, right? We just don't have access to that information. So the laws that we write, are not so much the laws.
Yeah, but the legislation is prescriptive in that it sort of asks you to do something that you can actually decide not to do, whereas the laws of physics are descriptive and you can't break them. Or there wouldn't be laws. Oh, I'm going to miss this. This is fucked. So I'm heading back home and there's a no right turn where I want to turn right near my house. And usually you're allowed to turn right after 10 o'clock. But what they do is they leave a little a rat run a little bit earlier, but they close the rat run at 9:30. So I'm in this little fucking limbo period between 9:30 and 10 o'clock where I got to fuck around to get to my own fucking house. Take this massive detour. Anyway, that's my win.
Is this in front of your mansion, is it?
Oh, it's a little bit away from it, but sure, yeah. I've got to take like a mile detour. I thought this was logic night. Why is it so quiet?
I was just making a brew. I thought you were having a chat with with Right the Hand. I thought you were reacquainting yourself. Seemed like you were quite getting on quite well together there.
Yeah, we probably should stop it there right now. I've had a good day.
So, like, yeah, do you have any proof, Ruhif?
Well, in terms of proving something about the world to you, I've been pretty clear that that's possible.
No, like, that's why I said, do you have any proof? We already established you cannot hand over a proof to anybody. So,
yeah, so then the answer is obviously no, right, in that context.
So you don't have any proof of anything?
No, I've been quite clear. You can't prove anything to another person. Because it's a subjective level
to yourself,
of...
then. I mean,
compelling.
If you can't prove something to somebody else, you must be able to prove something to yourself. So therefore,
to myself,
what
because
proof
I
do you
set the-
have for yourself?
Yeah, I set the level, right? I set the burden of proof, right?
I don't know.
Subjectively. Well, that's what we've been talking about for 5 minutes.
Okay.
So if you're asking in that context, then yes, I have plenty of proof. Okay. If you're asking for a sort of a mathematical or formal logical proof, then no.
So you've got nothing that you can demonstrate within a proof that you have earned for yourself. You can't like sort of formulate that to let people know that what proof you have.
Yeah, but the proof in that context where it's not formal logical proof is it steps close to the affirming the consequence fallacy, right? My proof in air quotes to me is, what's the prediction for a globe? What's the prediction for a flat Earth? Go and test it in reality, and it matches the globe, right? You can't then therefore say, I prove the globe, because that would be a logical fallacy.
Yeah, because you're basing it on two predictions. That's not a proof.
Yeah, but I can disprove, right? I can say this is the prediction for a flat Earth, and it doesn't bear out in reality, therefore it's not flat. That's a proof.
I don't think you gain proofs from predictions. Or proofs from negating predictions. That's not my understanding of a proof. But
do you accept the Black Swan argument? Do you accept the Black Swan modus tollens? Because that's a formal logical proof.
When you say the Black Swan modus tollens, do you mean the concept of the Black Swan within a logical framework, or do you mean a modus tollens as formulated through a logical argument, or do you mean something that QE's done?
Yeah, the QE formulation is a perfectly valid argument.
I don't think that's QE's formulation, though.
Well, whoever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The logic is valid, but the first premise is not sound. It's false.
Wait, wouldn't the actual Black Swan, not the oil rig one, right? Like, if there's a Black Swan and you see a Black Swan, wouldn't that prove then, without math or anything, that not all swans are white?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, well, then
it's a valid proof.
That would be a proof like everybody can accept. Like, and this is now we're getting to the area of proof being not a personal, subjective thing, but something that can be objectively, empirically demonstrated.
Yeah, disproven.
Well, but to disprove something, you have to prove something. They're hand in hand.
Oh no, your original statement is right. All swans are white, and you find a black swan. Therefore, you've disproven that premise.
Yeah.
By proving that you found a black swan. You first have to prove that you have a black swan, which is a proof. And then with that proof, you can then disprove. You can't just disprove without a proof. The proof gives you that card, which allows you to disprove its opposite.
Yeah, but then again, I ask you, how do you prove that you have a black swan? And you'll point at some bird over there, and I just go, no, that's a fucking, I don't know, that's a chicken dressed up as a swan.
Well, what about this one then, Ruhif? The one that we've got there. We're calling it the pantomime swan that DP's handing over to Ranty, right? Just if you look at the picture, right?
Which I can't. I'm driving.
Well, all right, but we don't.
I can look at it in about 2 minutes, though.
We don't need the Black Swan. Okay, well, I'll talk about the Black Swan as the Black Swan, right? The Black Swan, as in QE's formulation, is based upon a premise that we see too far, right? That's the idea. And the idea is that if you see the horizon beyond something, that you should already have at a position, then that's the Black Swan, right? That disproves the statement the horizon can only be there, right? That within QE's / Adams formulation of the logical argument, right? The modus tollens.
Yeah, and it's a disproof. It's not a proof. So it disproves Earth being a globe, right? That's the aim.
No, I don't think it does. It just disproves the geometrical position that you guys say the horizon has to be at, right?
Well, the first premise ignores refraction. That's why it fails as an argument. But in terms of its logical structure, it's perfectly valid.
So the idea of seeing the horizon beyond the base of the oil rig is the proof of the Black Swan, right? Because it shouldn't be there.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, according to the first premise, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I accept that the Black Swan, has a horizon, but I actually think it's between the first and second oil rigs, not past the second one. But, based on the argument, it's meant to be a couple of miles away. It's clearly not. And obviously it's ignoring refraction, but if you discard refraction entirely, then it's a perfectly valid argument. And sound. But refraction exists, therefore the first premise is wrong.
And it also proves that it's only a Black Swan if that's what you're looking for, right? Because DP's handed this one to Ranty. He's generously give it up. Because DP doesn't need it as a Black Swan.
Let me look at the image now, 1 sec.
It's just a picture to someone like DP and me.
Yeah, it is. But where is that taken? Like, what's the background of that photo? Like, I don't understand what I'm looking at.
Where's the background? The background, Ranty's took a picture with it in the background.
Can you link me to it?
It's a brand new one. I'm trying to find it now. The Ranty picture, I don't know. DP, is he DP
anyway,
around?
I'm home. I'm home, so that'll do.
Does the butler help you get out of the car?
Say again?
Does the butler help you get out of the car and park your car for you?
No, I actually park the car in my own garage.
Yeah, he's just a regular bloke. Don't listen to them stories of him being a wealthy man. He's just a normal dude.
He plays a character. This is how they do it.
Yeah.
And they have to carry this character on.
Yeah, I am going to hire someone though pretty soon.
Yeah, we've worked you all out, mate. You're just character actors.
Yep.
Carrying on the complete nutter fucking nonsense for them and lying to your fellow human beings on behalf of the government. You are.
All right.
You're a disgrace to humanity.
Good talking with you, Rohef.
He's gone.
Yeah.
Don't like the truth.
Don't like the Black Swan.
No.
The pantomime swan, we call it. We don't. Neither of us need it as a Black Swan, so therefore it doesn't really.
No, and it's like Rumpus in here now, muted and deafened. He's being paid while he's logged in to Discord.
Yeah.
This is why he stays. I've seen him for hours, if not all day, just logged into a room on his own, not debating or discussing anything, because they must pay him by the hours logged into Discord.
Right, we'll unmute him. There you go. So he can have a chat now if he wants. You can come off Rumpus. You can stop listening in on the YouTube and you can come in.
Fucking disgusting. My tax is paying these twats.
The Rumpus got a second chance.
Did you hear that he ran off for my welfare? Rumpus scampered away.
Lucky for you, because it takes 3 guys to take him down in rugby. At least 3 or more, I believe he said.
3 rugby players tried to tackle him or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably can't even tie his own shoelaces.
He has a bend, don't break approach. Like, much like that pole he tried to set up.
I guarantee you he's listening right now.
Well, I wouldn't think so. He's done his shift. He's been in here. He's been muted. That's it. He can still earn his money now somewhere else. He can be quite happy in his little gang going, I got muted.
Probably doing his ironing now.
It's ironing.
Running around with his feather duster.
Yeah, I think that, what's his name? Jeremy was saying how he gets paid for modding, right? So the modders get paid. And then, what you gotta, that's what he said.
We don't have a moderation thing here. I don't need to get paid for that.
Oh, yeah, not over here. But if you're paying the mods, you can't be paying a moderator if there's no debate, right? So you gotta pay people to get in there so the mods can debate, or they can mod.
You'd have to have a big server in order to make money out of the Discord, right? I mean, how do you make a Discord pay? I mean, perhaps I'm naive. I don't understand.
I've been monitoring gems, and you can literally hear them start the agendas, and one of them will take the opposite side if there's nobody in there to take the bait. And it's literally, they do it on a time scale. It's all done clockwork type of thing.
Tao was saying just earlier that he's had enough. But he was saying that he used to pay 15 quid a month for the upkeep. Of what? I don't know.
That's what I was just going to say. Upkeep for what?
Need to brush up. We need to employ somebody to brush up round the edges. And...
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, if he's doing it, how many others does just Gem have around there that he might have got people to pay 15 quid a month for the upkeep of the server? I literally don't know.
Patreons, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's, I don't know, just sort of. But what was it? What's it for? It's like, we need this place, Gem. And Gem's like, well, I don't know, if I don't keep getting 15 quid off every one of you, I might shut this server down. I can't be bothered. It's like, oh, well, Gem, we'll do it then if you can keep it open.
They're addicted.
Yeah. It's got to be, hasn't it? Like, it's like a club. Yeah, it's like a gents club.
Yeah. Well, I remember, I never paid because I'm, I have other addictions that need my money, but I can understand the draw, right? The appeal to it, and if you got nothing else, you got, decent money. Yeah, why not throw them $20 so that you have somewhere where you can spend your time?
Yeah, sense of community. You feel like
and
be in it.
Yeah, be somebody respectful in there, right?
I sense a change coming, though. These places, they're changing. The arguments, and I think it's developing.
I had a feeling, I don't know if you've come across this, they all started calling everybody a liar all of a sudden, and like labelling you as a liar, and they were all saying exactly the same.
Yep.
Have you noticed?
A narrative switch. Yeah, they've definitely done it. I mean, they've switched on the slander button.
Yeah.
I don't know for what reason, right? They pretend that, like George is saying, like we're vile and horrible and disgusting, and I mean, it's like most people I know here are pretty respectful. I mean, we do have a laugh, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a laugh, surely. I don't know. Yeah, there's definitely a change coming where they don't want to be associated with us, which I'm fine with. But they can't surely say you're lying when you're saying that straight lines don't curve.
That is fucking ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
How they can keep a straight face and say that, I don't know.
No, we had Ruhif round the other day saying that the line of sight is actually curved. I don't know. I can't even comprehend how that manages to work in his imagination. But yeah, they're clearly saying it. But I mean, it's the same as the bending straight line and a level line, and it doesn't make sense logically. But their model dictates that they have to say it, and say it they do. Quite confidently, and they'll say at the end on the model, as if, you know, their model dictates it. You just have to say it. Doesn't matter whether you can prove it or whether it's true or anything. They just say it. It's getting old, so I mean, I'm happy with them not wanting to talk to us. Not keen on all of the slander and stuff that's going on, though. That's a bit... It's a bit much.
You just have to let it go over your head, Bev.
Well, yeah, but when there are an entire group of people... I mean, all we're about here is trying to make a nice little community. And I think their game is to stop anybody from coming in. They just make it bad and nasty for anybody wanting to come in, whereas I'd say this is one of the most approachable groups of people that we've got. Just about everybody can discuss anything that they want, as long as you keep it real.
Yeah. They often say to me, why don't you spend more time in Bev's? And I said, why would I be preaching to the choir? You know, and people over there know and understand.
Yeah, this is just a place to come for a head check, isn't it, right? To come for a sanity check.
Yeah.
It's good that places like this exist, I think, within the internet framework, because it can be absolutely mad trying to join in on any conversation anywhere. Over at Gems must be, I don't know, you've got to be careful with what you say over there, haven't you? And how you approach a conversation.
Yeah.
It's got quite a lot of people. Yeah, we're going to have to get down to the Ruhif bending light thing. Again, like, they come with arguments, but I think because we're doing stuff, like we were just doing the optic test of the
but Bev, they say in one breath that, take the notes of the Black Swan because of refraction, blah, and all this stuff. But then they will aim a bloody auto level 50 miles and go on their results. Which is fucking ludicrous.
Yeah.
When they've said in one breath, You know, 5 or 6 miles, you're seeing refraction. Fair enough. I'm not arguing that point. But then they'll shoot a auto level or a theodolite over 40, 50 miles and fucking hang on the results that they're getting. It's lunacy.
Yeah. Colin's
Apparently
right.
you don't have refractional effects over 50 miles.
Well, looking through the horizontal, that's why the theodolite and the auto level are completely different tools.
Yeah.
And they don't understand it. They've never looked at it. And I can confidently say that. Because no actual surveyor would ever look through an auto level over any distance like that. Because they know the discrepancy in all of that is taken through the optics.
Well, it tells you in the manuals, doesn't it? I've checked them out, and sort of the rule of the thumb is 150 yards is about maximum.
It's as far as you can see to read it. Now, everybody knows that you need the measuring rod, right? That's a vital component within the auto level. Auto level, tripod, measuring
Read the
rod.
staff, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the letters are a set height.
The numbers on it.
Yeah, numbers, sorry, are a set height. And beyond that resolution, you would get distortion anyway. Is that what they're saying? If you can't
That's
read
what
them,
I think. Yeah. Beyond what you can't see, because that's the limit, right? The scope of an auto level goes to 32. I think there's some that may go to 35 or 36 times scope. But other than that, you can't buy a 125 times scope auto level. Mainly because they're fixed focal length, and at that distance you'd be looking through that much air, you wouldn't be able to see what it was that you were meant to be looking at. Right? Over that distance, the size of the crosshair is too thick. You can't read a number accurately. And that's the reason. Because that's what it's all about. It's all about measuring.
Yeah. Now, just, I mean, you know a bit more than I do about these surveys. How could you, when surveying on land, work in the curvature of the earth? Because you don't know whether the ground's going up or down, do you?
That's what you are surveying. You are actually measuring that. You're measuring the elevation of the land.
Say the ground starts going up then, how can you possibly work in Earth's curvature into that?
You can't.
You can't. That's what I see. It's physically impossible.
You stop having to use the Earth's curvature because it doesn't actually mean anything, that. I mean, do you mean a mountain? Like, as in the Earth's curvature? Or...
Yeah.
Because if you do, then you measure the mountains and the elevations of the bits of the mountain. Like, that's measured. But you don't nobody actually means that when they say Earth's curvature, do they? What they actually mean is curvature of level. Well, that sounds a bit more ridiculous. Especially within this argument, right? Most people have got used to hearing Earth curve. But it doesn't actually mean anything. When you start arguing something that doesn't actually mean anything, then you're losing already. I think first off we need to stop talking about Earth curve and start talking about the curvature of level. Getting people to define what the hell they mean when they say Earth curve. And yeah, there's no curvature to level. That's easily provable. And if this is a geometric shape argument, then they should have some proof geometrically for their model. They haven't. There is no globe defender with any geometric evidence of the globe model. If anybody wants to try, I'll get them to come in. Because I'll be formulating mine. Do you like the GIF that we did when we walked out? That's us walking out a mile in the GIF. Every 100 meters we do a TT. That's what we were doing the other week when at the weekend. It was cold and the tide was up. Know whether you can see that. Can you see that, Bry?
Sorry, mate. Hold on. Yeah.
Right. Well, if you see at the beginning, the crosshairs on the level bit in the middle of our backs, and we're walking down that beach there. You know, like in front of us is the bit that you went to. So this is at Ainsdale. And you can walk, it's about 2 miles straight down the beach. And we are walking straight down in between the two tides. So the high tide's coming up to the left of us on that beach. And we can see the high tide waterline to the right of us. And we're basically walking up right in the middle of there for a mile. In a straight line, and you can see at the beginning the crosshair is at our backs, you know, the middle of the back, but by the end of it it's about top of our head height. Well, have we walked down so far? Because we're walking down the beach with the tide to the left of us at the same height. So I'd say we're not.
On the assumption that the sea has gone lower and gone out, then you must have been walking down a slope.
No, we're walking along the shore. We're walking parallel to the tide. Walking towards Lytham St Anne's along the beach.
Are you walking... Oh, right, along it, as opposed to down to the sea.
Yeah. So it's at, you know, about as close without us actually having to survey it. It's same height, because we can see the tide on the left of us, and we can see the high tide watermark to the right of us, and we're walking right down the middle of that. In a straight line. So what you can see is there's a compression, but the compression isn't to the horizontal. Once you get out of that measurement range and you start going further, before you get, you know, to the half-mile mark, there's an optical drop, because the vanishing point isn't at the horizontal, it's below. So the weird thing is, in that picture, is that our heads are dropping below the horizontal, but at the same time, our feet are always going upwards. There's no going over a curve. It's feet up, compression. I call it a pretty successful optical test for me. I'm happy when I put it together and see it like that. But anybody else can make of it what they will. I think we need to do it again. I think we'll try and go a little bit further. Keep the auto level there, but film it with a P1000 to get a better clarity. We'll end up with a better picture at the end of it. Watch the compression. But that's all streamed live onto Discord, and then footage taken from Discord and made into the GIF. So what you see in that picture is something that anyone in this Discord server was able to see and record for themselves.
Yeah, I popped in when you were doing it.
Yeah, so thanks to Emma, she recorded it for us. When the people say we don't do stuff and why don't I record it? Well, if I'm out there doing this stuff, then I can't record it. So, because it relies on people being in the Discord to do the recording for us. Banana Man's coming in. Who is it that's triggered in with that one? That's SE. Well done, SE. I think that's Gambino, right? Talking the stupid globe model stuff.
Yeah, I think it is.
One man's horizontal can be, he says.
Wow.
That's good.
How does he figure that?
He doesn't really understand his model, does he? That's funny, that.
Well, I've said this before, Bev, but to me the argument's over. There is no debate anymore. The Earth isn't what we've been told.
Yeah. I've been the same. I've always said that there's never been any debates around here, and there never will be. There can't be an honest debate within this arena or with this subject, because it's all made up. It ended ages ago. You can tell by the attitudes of the people that we're discussing this with. The way they treat the argument. Well, it's not even an argument, is it?
That one I've just posted, Bev, they put that as a evidence to Earth's boats coming up over the curvature. But if you flick through, well, from about a minute, that is supposed to be, if you go to a minute on it, that is supposed to be the very top mast. But that's a row of trees behind it. If you have a look in the haze, there's a row of trees. Now, how can the boat, which I don't know, how tall would they be? 50, 60 foot high? Be below the horizon, but the trees are above it.
Me personally, having a P1000, I mean, I know it sounds like a big thing, but having that, just like what the moment you start looking out into the distance, there's just weird stuff. You know that whatever happens at that point, there's some really weird stuff happens. Personally, I've seen some pretty weird stuff from when my lad got the camera. Must have a knack of just being in the right place at the right time to see some good stuff. But once you get a camera and you start looking out, you know that optics aren't going to sort this. You can see that much weird stuff. You know pretty much straight away that it's not actually going to help you sort anything out.
And we have a vertizontal, ladies and gentlemen.
How's that work then?
Well, you have to have a great imagination, Brian.
I should think you do.
Yeah, where does he have to be in order to be using one man's horizontal as another person's vertical? At what position is that possible?
Impossible.
Not possible.
Yeah. It's not even on his model. Right, that's the funny thing. That they say it's possible because, I don't know, it must be their model dictates it. But when they try and work it out, there is no model. It can't dictate it because you can't actually physicalize it at all.
Now, can you please explain to me how that boat, and that is the very top of the mast, is below the tree line which is at the horizon? How the hell could that ever happen? Unless the boat sunk, of course.
There's an optical something that occurs, and it's always over water, so it's got to be.
Trees must be in terra firma.
Well,
you don't have trees floating on water, do you?
No, there's no aquatic trees that I'm aware of.
I think they're called lilies.
Yeah, they don't get that high. But yeah, there's a magnification thing that occurs as well. It's just weird when you get out there.
This has got to be CGI'd. It's got to be, because you can't have that effect.
No, yeah, you can.
How can you have a tree there and the top of a boat there? It's impossible, Beth.
Well, I'd say you see all sorts of weird shit in that. You've got no idea how far away at what sort of zoom that is. You know, whereabouts it is and the foreshortening that's gone and the effects of that. You see some weird stuff over the water. I mean, I got a big squished boat the other day.
Yeah, but it squished this boat to the point that it's put it 50 feet underwater.
Yeah. That's what it does.
Ridiculous.
It does it to windmills and all sorts, you know, out there.
Well, why hasn't it done it to the trees?
I haven't got a clue. As I say,
can't
you
be
get a
invented,
magnification as well. Them trees could be further on and be highly magnified.
But then the boat would be bigger, surely, if it was magnified.
No, because the stuff in the distance gets magnified. That boat could be closer. I mean, there's no way to know whenever you're looking at anything like that, especially through someone else's camera. It's one of the hardest things to portray is the picture that you take and trying to describe that picture when you bring it back.
Can you run the video?
I don't know. Whose is it? I don't really... they'll copyright strike me or whatever. I know what they're like, these people. I've got to keep it... keep it clean. But we've got videos of stuff like that from Southport and Blackpool. Looking over and seeing the windmills, blades going round and only being able to see the top bit. You've lost the hub even. Across to the Isle of Man. I mean, some days you can see the Isle of Man from sea level. Some days you can't even see the hubs of the windmills. It's weird. The water and the moisture within the water, within the air, causes all sorts of weird stuff to occur. Looks like there's humps and everything, but also with the way the perspective works with everything rising. It's the problem of the optics argument whenever you start with it, is the fact that the optics are the thing that can't be described. And either people will choose whatever they want to support, whichever side of the argument they want to support. With the optics, people will say, well, look at this. And then somebody, look at this. Always weighing one up for the other. And it's always, changing. Horizontal cannot be another man's vertical unless you've got a model dictates that it can, but without any reason to know exactly what it is and how it can be. Breaks the law of non-contradiction, right?
Absolutely.
That's why there's you should put capitalize the cannot, because that's a definite cannot, right? Geometrically it's impossible.
I did capitalize. Oh, you mean the N as well on the not?
Yeah, to all of it. The
whole thing. Okay.
Yeah. Make it stand out. That's the most important word in that thing. Yeah, I think they're definitely going to be going away from this argument. Nobody wants any of it. Because they struggle with it logically. And if you can't justify an argument logically, then it's not much of an argument, since that's literally what an argument is the formulation of a logical statement. to bring a proof at the end. It's a discussion and a building of the logical statement to formulate the argument, which is where we're going to be going with the proof thing. How do you formulate a proof? What is a proof? What's it mean to have a proof? And what can you find a proof of? What proofs do you already hold? That's the big one. I think we did well today. Anyone want to recap, and I'll close this one down for this week. So I keep saying we're going to have to keep coming back and doing more of this sort of stuff. Does anyone want a final words?
Just that you can't disprove something without proving something. That's how the nature of that works. You can't have a proof without a disproof, right? In my eyes, anyway.
Well, surely to disprove something is a proof. You're proving the negative.
Yeah, exactly. It's one side. The proof and disproof are just sides of the same coin. And without one, you don't have the other.
This is when they say that science doesn't prove anything, it disproves. I said, well, surely that itself is a proof.
Yeah,
if you can
that's what
disprove something.
Is.
Yeah. And then they go on about pixies and fairies. What the fuck are they on? Is our science based on that fairies could muck about with your experiment? Because if it is, that's not science.
Yeah,
that's fantasy.
In logic, the modus tollens, which is actually one of the oldest forms, it goes back to antiquity, of proof. The modus tollens within the logical argument is called the contrapositive. So you're disproving something, but it's called the contrapositive actually. So it's a proof of the negative. It's a positive contradictory proof, right?
Which in itself is an evidence. Surely that is a proof.
Yeah. It is. It's a proof. It's a proof of the contra positive, right? It's a positive affirmation of the opposite of the statement. Because when you do logic, you make an initial statement. It can either be true or false. So if you can prove it false, then you've proved it to not be what you say it was. I mean, logic is set up like that. So for you to say that, I mean, it shows that you've already give up to the logic, right? It's not mathematics that's formulating the proof. It's the logical statement that you come up with that formulates the proof, which I would definitely have to agree with, because at least it puts it in your hands then. You are formulating the statement which you are gaining to be your proof through whatever way, right? You can affirm it, affirm the consequent, or you can deny the consequent, or you could do my favorite, the reductio ad absurdum, as if to say, this is ridiculous. If this was true, then this is how stupid it would be. Which I think is one of the best forms of arguments. Yeah, it adds the comedy element to it. The reductio ad absurdum. There's plenty of that in the globe model. Plenty. So come to the pub.
We can only hope that people start seeing through this deception hopefully for our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, they're actually taught what it is we're living upon.
Yeah, that's going to be up to us, I'm afraid. Education system isn't going to help us. But this is a personal thing anyway. It's going to be harder and harder finding people that want to take the personal journey.
I like to say like a small thing, like one thing cannot be another thing, you know? Like a cat cannot be a dog. Very simple. They cannot seem to grasp a simple thing like that. Like one man's vertical cannot be another man's horizontal.
Simple statements, simple proofs. I think most of the time though, when we get somebody who pushes back against that, that's their job, or not their job, or whatever. But they've been so ingrained into the opposite opinion, they have to take the opposite because they just like to argue that much. Whether it's argue or troll or whatever, I don't know how they do it. But, yeah, they will purposely, I think they do it just to troll most of the time. Because they think it gets you annoyed. So they take the contra position just because they want to. Because they think it annoys you.
No, I laugh at them. Like Rumpus, when he goes on and on, I laugh in the background.
Yeah, a lot of people get annoyed though, right? So, I mean, we are a strange few that stick around in here to start off with. There's not many people that stick around.
Well, we can't let them go on insulting us, right? I mean, there's a limit.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I'm going to shut this off now anyway. So if anybody wants to come in, jump in the next level Discord. Jimmy Boy says if one man is sideways. A sideways vertical or a sideways horizontal?
Jimmy